Maddie's match. So how do we try and view Ross Lyon's Saints? It feels like they, as you touched on, Lids last week, they provided a good challenge for the Blues. They were able to get the loose behind the ball and play a largely defensive game. Doesn't come as too much of a secret that Ross Lyon has a different narrative each week, and it's a must-win when you get to this time of the season, and every week is a grand final. So if you're not approaching it with that mindset, you're taking some shortcuts. So his side has the mindset that this week is their grand final.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting to see whether they actually want to go ahead and score, not unlike the second half last week where they, I'm not going to say they parked the bus, but I think that's been a consistency with Ross Lyon coach teams is that they're very strong defensively, but you're always in the game because if you can score against them and break the damn wall, essentially, you're always going to be in the game. So
they probably didn't adapt, did they, to the change of method that Carlton then threw at them after half time. So exactly. They parked the bus in the first half and had a great result on the back of that. And then the second half, Carlton got their game going, with more bold with ball in hand, and had a few big critical contests around the stoppage. And St Kilda weren't able to adjust. I think Carlton manned up their +1 and then +2 at times where they were getting numbers back in front of Charlie Curnow. So they probably just didn't adapt quick enough. So maybe just being more agile in the way in which they go about is something they need to try and improve on.
I think the key for Richmond today will be how can they score a winning score. You know, they haven't. We saw Wilkie play incredibly well on Curnow, but it was the other guys that got a hold of the Saints, you know, your mid-tier guys. So can that be, you know, we know Dustin will play down there, Shea Bolton at times. Marlon Pickett's been playing there as a forward. So, you know, Liam Baker. Oh, I love Liam Baker.
Yeah. So they're favourite at ABC, I reckon, Liam Baker.
Yeah. But I think they're, like, it's going to be about whether they can get enough looks inside there and be bold, which I think the Tigers usually are. But, you know, if the Saints are going to be anything and challenge the, you know, in the finals or deep into finals, then this is a game they have to win. But in saying that, I've got no confidence in that happening, and I'm tipping the Tigers today. But I just think that, the Saints, they've got a lot to play for.
Why don't they like playing Docklands, apart from the Damien Hardwick narrative?
Oh, our fans don't like coming here, apparently. Yeah, no, to be honest, I think it's a little bit narrower than what you're used to at the G, and the Tigers typically, we've always played the G quite well. But, yeah, well, I don't know. I always loved playing here because it was fast, and you knew you were going to get a dry day. If it was raining on a Thursday, I said, I'm not training, don't need to, because we're not playing in this sort of rubbish weather. We're going to be playing, let's go to MSAC and go and have a little kick around there on the basketball courts, you know.
Can you kick quick goals here?
Very quick goals, yeah.
Straight out of the guts, start the game.
I'm not sure whether you've seen on Instagram, but yeah, I don't mind a bit of self-promotion.
Quickest goal in AFL history from Brett Delidio.
Which I got reminded of plenty last night too. Who are you promoting yourself with? So I've got to remind everyone.
How many seconds?
8, I think.
8 seconds, out the middle.
That's it.
That's efficient, isn't it?
I think so.
A few ex-teammates of both mine and Ryan Griffin, Jezza Cameron, Dylan Sheila, like, Griff, what the hell were you doing? Get off the wrong side of the stoppage.
I guess, Murph, the Saints haven't been outside the top 8 all season. They won 6 of their first 8, and now all of a sudden it feels like they're staggering, having won 3 of their last 8. If they don't feature in finals, keeping in mind they brought in Ross Lyon thinking this list had a bit more to give. Would you see that as a bit of a failure?
I sort of have them around where I thought they were going to be, but I think they've done really well to be in this stage of the year and still inside the top 8. If they win today, it goes a long way to not cementing their spot, but they probably still have to win 2 of the last 3 with teams around them on similar level. So today's obviously a really important one with Geelong here next week and then up to Brisbane. So Brisbane's, you know, it's almost impossible to go up there and win that. So tonight, or this afternoon, is a must-win game for St Kilda.
So this is about where you saw them this year. So they've achieved well and above what I thought they'd do this year, the Saints. I think they've gone so much better than what I thought they would or their list would. So
if they don't win another game, they won 11.
Yep.
It's about mid.
And that's what you thought at the start of the year? That's where you thought? I thought they'd be
I think they did pretty well at the start of the year, covering a lot of injuries that they did have to win those games. And they set up where they are at the moment by those first initial probably 5 or 6 weeks where it was a new style, maybe caught some other teams off guard as well. And maybe teams came up against St Kilda thinking it was just going to be an easy opportunity to get a win. So maybe they just caught a few off guard early, but I sort of have them around where I thought they were going to be.
Can I give you my sort of media sports guy lens out sort of approach on St Kilda?
Yeah.
Feels like we heard all off-season, our running numbers are unbelievable, best running we've ever done. They couldn't believe how poor some of the running was previously at St Kilda. Rah, Ross has come in, everything's changed, things are great. start like they've been shot out of a cannon. All of a sudden, whoa, these guys are fit. Look how well they're going. Now we're in the back 6-7 weeks of the season.
Peaked too early.
All of a sudden, they don't seem to quite have the same puff that they had at the start of the year. It is a long season. Yes, they did a whole lot of heavy work in the pre-season. They wanted to see what they had with their list, but since round 13, they've beaten Hawthorn, West Coast and North. They beat the bottom 3 teams and that's it, and they look like they're not as fresh, clearly, halfway through August as what they were at the start. So,
what do you want them to say, though, at the start of the year? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm not sure where we're at, and are we really going to... Because they've got to tell memberships, they've got to get people excited for the upcoming year.
But I guess the narrative you could draw is they were too ready too early, and rather than getting into the season, that they basically ran out of juice. They came out too hard.
But it goes back to what I said before. They've overachieved from what I've thought, and I'm not patting myself on the back. They're going really well, But I think, if they can play finals, that's a massive tick for them this year.
I feel like they've still got a couple of list management questions that have to be answered. So Tim Member is 29. He gets an opportunity this afternoon off the back of 4 goals in the VFL. He's contracted for next season, so playing his 5th game of the year. Is he the one who will play alongside Max King, or do they potentially see a more versatile forward line? And the other thing that really struck me when I look back at the result from last week against the Blues is that Jack Steele is clearly playing under duress, and Brad Crouch alongside him. Neither of them had a touch in the final term.
Yep.
So both are not one. So both are doing a lot of tackling. Brad Crouch had over 9 tackles last week, and Jack Steele had over 10. That feels like that's being his role, trying to bring the pressure. But what does their midfield look like with Jade Gresham?
Oh, they need speed.
Also restricted free agent at the end of the year.
They need to go chase, I reckon, a bit of speed through the midfield.
But then, what does Dougal Howard do? Jade Gresham, we're hearing may potentially going somewhere else. Jade Gresham's one of their better young players. I would have thought that you wouldn't want to be losing, but who knows?
Interestingly, Brad Hill has just had his knee taped in the warm-up. Is that unusual? That wouldn't be done in advance? Does that suggest that something may have happened?
Could have,
when they were out there?
Might have had a pre-sort of issue going in and thought he could probably run through it. It probably might have warmed up or wasn't feeling as good, so you try a few different alternatives to get it going, or if it was just felt like it was moving too much, who knows? But I don't think it's too much of a worry.
Brad Hill's right knee, so now has strapping applied to that. Obviously, he's been in the wars in recent weeks, had that heavy collision, 3 weeks ago now, missed a week, back for one, and he's second up now with a strapped knee here.
Hawks lead by 15 points, 8 minutes gone, final term in Tassie. 8-11-59 to the Western Bulldogs, 6-8-44. So Hawthorn with 2 goals to none so far in the final term. Couple of interesting games to shape round 22 in the AFL season. As the 2 captains gather in the middle of the Docklands, the final member of our team sitting in the front row of the grandstand is Jess Webster. Welcome to you once again, Jess.
Thanks, Clinchy. Great to be here for Sunday afternoon footy. It's a big opportunity, as we know, for the Saints today in their bid to play finals against the Tigers side, who, as we know, don't like Docklands very much. They haven't won here in their last 7 games, with only a draw in that stretch as well. Just a quick word on Brad Hill. He did get some treatment from the physios on the bench, but he did give us a smile to myself and the rest of the boundary riders. He appears okay, and he will start this match. As for the subs, for the Saints, it's Hunter Clark, and for Richmond, it's Ryan Mansell.
Thanks, Jess. Looking forward to your contributions throughout the afternoon. Have you tipped lids?
I've gone with the Tigers, only because we did the Saints last week and I wasn't filled with a heap of confidence. So I think the Tigers, with their brand, can get the job done.
What about for you, Murph?
Yeah, I think Richmond will be too good today. I still really think their midfield's really strong. That's obviously their strength in the contest and getting the ball forward. I think they win today.
It is the 8th annual Maddies match. In memory of Matty Revolt and the chance to buy virtual seats in season 2023. The Saints looking to lock up their spot in September, taking on the Tigers. Here's Corbin Minimas.
As the bounce favours Nan Curvis, he wins the hit out for Richmond. First hands on the footy for Taranto. He's locked up again in the middle of Docklands. What's the chant for Taranto, Lids?
Oh, I'm not going with it on air. No. Sorry, you can.
Okay. Maybe later in the piece. No late change coming in. Clark and Mansell, the 2 subs, and we'll get a third bounce in the middle as another pack forms at the feet of the ruckman. Saints with the purple socks on, of course, for Matty's vision. They've got the black shorts and the traditional jumper with the red, white and black columns. And Richmond in their 2017 premiership jumper, all in yellow with the black sash and the white shorts. Hurried kick forward here from the Saints out of the middle. It scoots through to Membry. Hand pass away to Higgins. Gives a hand pass back to Membry. Kicks to centre half forward. Seb Ross ducking down. Takes the mark. True centre half forward. He'll kick from about 40 metres out. The man who started that chain with the initial inside 50. And now he can shoot for the first score.
Well done, Jack Higgins. Got onto that loose ball really quickly. Slipped Dylan Grimes. Then got the handball back to Tim Embry. I wasn't sure about the kick. She looked like it was a little bit up and under,
wasn't it?
But Seb Ross in a good spot there. The midfielders from Richmond just hunting the footy, not turning their head.
In he comes, Seb Ross. His left footer is on target. It didn't get there.
He was on the march.
From 45 out, and Nankervis marks on the goal line, the tallest Tiger back. He chips it short to the back pocket, and Jack Ross has it.
No one but Toby Nankervis on the goal line as Ross kicks up towards the wing. No mark claimed, it's spoiled away. As Bauer has started forward alongside Dustin Martin and Jack Revolt.
Now, there was no one on the line because Max King came up for the lead, which I thought was surprising considering he was kicking from 45. Obviously not backing in his legs. Now we know why.
Bart Murphy with you on ABC Sport. Thrown back in. Marshall works his way to the front against Nankervis. Nankervis tries to tap it down. Pinballs back to him. He's tackled by Marshall and Steele. And the umpire will ball it up on the AFL logo on the broadcast side.
Both sides got the +1 in defence at the moment from the stoppage.
Thrown up, Nankervis palms it down. It ricochets off Crouch and in the direction of Ross, who swings onto his right-hand side. Kicks wide of Marlon Pickett out on the full. Wanganeen Miller up to take it for the Saints at left half back. So what have we had? 8 disposals in 2.5 minutes. It hasn't been high calibre to start with.
Goes short to Seb Ross. One of the 2 inclusions this week for the Saints, along with Tim Membry, who's back. Short to Sinclair. Could he be a 2-time All-Australian in a couple of weeks? Hand pass back to Seb Ross. Kicks inside 50, and Nankervis back in defence takes the intercept mark. It's been 29 yesterday, the Richmond skipper. And then Curvis feeds a hand pass off to the running Noah Bolter. A long kick out to Baker. He's outnumbered and outsized. And the wall of Wilkie. Big Callum Wilkie comes floating through to take the intercept mark on the City wing.
Might have copped an awkward one to the ribs as he's ready to take his kick now. Veers out to the left. Sends the Saints inside 50. Charging out Membry and also Owens. Neither can take the mark. Short. Sends a high ball towards half-back. Martin flies underneath it, tries to juggle the mark against Sinclair. He's paid it, swings onto the right-hand side, wants to bang it long. Bauer had pushed back towards the goals, allowed Cordy to take an intercepting mark for the Saints. Kicks out towards the broadcast side. Wanganeen Miller works it forward. Winhager can chip it up to Membry. He takes the mark between wing and half forward. Tim Membry back after 4 goals last week, playing his first game since round 9 against the Crows. He comes inboard and Sinclair marks, still 2 kicks out from goal.
28-year-old, he just pokes the pass short to Seb Ross. Been busy early, this is his 5th touch. Hand pass away to Wanganeen Malira, loads up from 50. In front of the behind post, Mason Wood is claiming the mark and it'll be paid.
That'll bounce. Juggled it over the boundary.
Yeah. All right, now boundary throw in here next to the behind post. Umpire's in the powdered blue today as well, so there's a little bit of a mix-up, given the yellow versus black nature of the day from the boundary throw-in. Prestia doing the role of a ruckman, just whacks it forward. Ross again involved. That's Seb to the Saints. Hand pass away to Webster, to Wood. Handball to Gresham. He chips it short, turns it over. And Taranto in the back pocket picks it off. Scores level, no score after 4.5 minutes. Let us know if you want the... Not yet for the chant.
No, I'll bring it out if he kicks a good goal.
Cool.
Averages just under 30 disposals a game. Tim Taranto, long kick to the wing, and Rowan Marshall takes the mark. Tackled as he looked to try and move it quickly, so has to push back behind his mark and kicks into the middle of Docklands where Webster takes the mark. Further laterally to Sinclair. He honours the lead that comes up from Winhager. It just clears him, and Ross races back after it for the Tigers. Gathers and swings onto his right-hand side. Pokes the kick up the wing. Rioli's outnumbered. Sliding in Sinclair over the top of Graham, and it goes over the boundary line for a throw-in. 5 minutes gone, no score here at Docklands for Sunday afternoon footy. Hawks leading by 15 points over the Western Bulldogs in the final term. Make that now 9 as Tim English kicks a goal.
Still 16 premiership players out there for Richmond. Boundary throw in, and then Curvis swats it down. Jack Steele for the Saints. Hand pass away to Phillippo. Kicks down the wing. Broad, clever, taps it to Jack Ross. Hand pass is a turnover. Steele for the Saints. Back to Phillippo. Tackled, taken to ground. Somehow got a hand pass out to Crouch. Feeds it back to Sinclair. Kicks the Saints to centre half forward. Turnover and intercept mark for Broad. Number 35 on his back in the blue boots. Just chips it short, not 15, said the umpire. Tackled Taranto, got a hand pass away under pressure. Hill sweating on Broad, wins the footy, centre half forward. Kicks inside 50. Gresham running downhill. He's onto it. Open goal square. Kicks it. He's got the first of the day, Jade Gresham. And the Saints on the board first. It's taken 6 minutes. St Kilda one straight. Richmond yet to score. And a turnover goal to get St Kilda moving.
It was a bit unlucky, wasn't it? Broad went with that little kick to Timmy Taranto. Not quite the 15. Tackled play on. He did his best to get it on. Tim Taranto.
Good pressure from Brad Hill, wasn't it? Who just followed up 2 contests to force that error once the umpire didn't call the 15, and then just a little pop over the top. Jay Gresham.
Good shepherd from King as well, just to buy Gresham that little bit of time. We know how quick Bolter is. A nice little touch kick from Brad Hill, and he's playing that high half forward roll up and back all day, but uses it incredibly well as well.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. Dustin Martin into the centre square for the Tigers alongside Jack Steele. Bounce in the middle as Nankervis and Marshall compete. Nank wins down the tap looking for Martin. Charging onto it. Bolton couldn't take it. Spills down the way of Crouch. He left it behind. Dow has a go. Picks it up for the Tigers. Hand pass to the back of the pack. Short. Kicks a long ball inside 50. Revolt and Bauer are there. Spills down to the front. Taranto trying to lock it up. Cordy had it. Lost it. Baker gathers. Hand pass over his head. Only as far as Sinclair. Gets the hand pass away to Winhager, and now to Cal Wilkie. Long kick towards Sharman. He's outnumbered and worked underneath it by Grimes. Floston gathers for the Tigers at the back. Centering kick looking for Martin, getting back. Rowan Marshall takes the mark.
Moves it on by hand to Wanganeen Malira. Kicks to the City wing, marked by Membry. Chance for the Saints here on the counter-attack. Moves it down to half forward. Mason Wood hands to it, no mark. Spills down to Broad of the Tigers. His hand pass picked off by Gresham. Shoots goalward for the first 2. Gresham's got it. St Kilda with the fast start. And the Saints 2 straight. Gresham's got both of them. Richmond yet to score. 7.5 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Well, it all goes back to the Rowan Marshall mark. Coming back with a flight. Dusty Martin looked like he had his name written all over it from the Nick Floston kick, but it was great work rate initially from Mason Wood to provide an option and provide a contest ahead of the ball. And that just gave the St Kilda players an opportunity to get hard forward, and Jay Gresham started the game really well, kicking first 2.
Kicked 1 goal in the last 3 weeks, Jade Gresham. He's kicked 2 in the first 7 minutes.
They had a hot start last week too, though, the Saints, didn't they? If you can stick with them, I reckon you still have a chance, but there's some ominous signs here early for the Tigers supporters.
Restricted free agent at the end of the season, Jade Gresham, getting involved early here with the opening 2 goals of the match. Bounce back in the middle, it favours Marshall, who wins it down against Soldo. Filippo couldn't break away from it. Gathered by Taranto, kicks around the body towards half forward. Baker had it spoiled away from him. Charging after it is Ross. He's tackled, his hand pass finds Martin. He brushes off the tackle of Winhager to Baker under pressure. Tackled by Crouch, got it back to Dusty. Tucks the footy under his arm, kicks towards Bolton. He has to try and spoil from behind. It spills to the back of the pack. Patton gathers for the Saints. Hand pass to Sinclair. Searching kick towards Membry. 1-on-1 it clears he and Young. Racing back onto it, Bolter. So athletic. Now King lays the tackle. It was over the shoulder. And Noah Bolter will take it on the far wing. Just in the defensive half with the Saints leading by 12 points.
Bolter stabs the pass to Soldo, who marks logo of that City wing. St Kilda with the first 2 goals, 9.5 minutes into the game. Richmond yet to score. Long entry inside 50. They all fly for it. No mark. Hits the deck. Richmond onto it first. Graham collects, but retreating. Runs back. Hand pass away to Broad. Pokes the pass into the pocket. Baker collects in the half volley. Keeps it alive. Not quite. Tried to snap it back to the teeth of goal, and it was over the boundary line. Left forward pocket, so we'll have a throw in. The Saints lead it by 12 points. Almost 10 minutes travelled. There was no late change coming in. Brad Hill had a bit of work done on his knee, but he has started and is playing. Hunter Clark and Ryan Mansell, the 2 tactical subs.
Hawks by 8 points over the Western Bulldogs in Tassie. 15 minutes gone. Final term, throw in, the 2 rucks tangle, free kick going the Saints' way as Rowan Marshall was brought down by Soldo. And the ball to be returned to Marshall. Where do you have him in the All-Australian conversation, Murph? Is
I'd be right up there, I think.
In front of Tim English, in your eyes?
Yep.
Short to Sinclair in the right back pocket. Gives the hand pass away to Patton. Links up with Brad Crouch. Thought about the hand pass back. Now surrounded by Tigers. Gets the hand pass away as Bolton lays the tackle. Not quick enough. And Shea Bolton will take it at left half forward.
Shifts it across the ground to Vlostone. Diving effort. Umpire says not 15. He's tackled immediately. And so we'll have a ball up as Gresham, doing the defensive work there, lays the tackle on Vlostone.
really need a spark at the moment, Richmond, by Shea Bolden or a Dusty Martin. Just look really flat-footed.
Soldo palms it down in front of Dow, can't quite trap it. Now he's met front on by Filippo. Dow gets a second go, but hands it straight to Hill. Hand pass to Crouch. Taranto tackles him. Leg buckled underneath him. He's okay though, Crouch. Pack forms behind him, and we'll have a ball up again in the centre square at Docklands. Umpire chucks it up. Soldo wins it down for Richmond. Bolton. Hand pass in the middle of the ground, but straight to Butler. Saints win it back, gives it to Gresham. Short kicks the shocker. Didn't hit his intended target. Vlostone collects. Hand pass out wide to Young. He's going to leave it for his teammate.
McIntosh runs onto it, sends it up towards half forward. Nankervis couldn't quite take the mark. He does gather though. Hand pass back to McIntosh at left half forward. Brushes off the tackle of Wood. Hand pass away to Graham. Swings onto his right foot. High kick inside 50. Have a go at that. Bauer comes charging out. It spills down to the front. Steal for the Saints. Hand pass to Sinclair. Pulls his kick at the last moment out towards Mason Wood. He gathers cleanly and swings onto his left. Kicks up the city wing. Membry had it spoiled away from him by Vlostone. It bounces wide of Graham. He got an awkward bounce, but then a great tackle on Wood. Somehow jammed onto his boot, but kicked it straight out on the full. The Tigers will take it.
Weren't really sure who was going to go for that one. Clinchy, were they? All three of them sort of looked at each other and it bounced straight to the Saints. Mason Wood, great tackle though to force it to go out of bounds on the full.
St Kilda by 12 points. Richmond yet to score. McIntosh goes short of Vlostone, who rolls onto his right boot. Kicks inside the forward arc. Hands to it, hitting up. But no mark for the Tigers. Comes down towards Nankervis. Hand pass too hot for Bolton. Now Hill grabs it. Gives it to Sinclair. His kick smothered. Handball away from Steele. Back into dispute. Now a turnover. Baker collects. Goes along the ground and finds the passage through. Liam Baker kicks Richmond's first. It was untidy in true Richmond fashion, but found his way to the opening and pops it through. Cuts St Kilda's lead in half. So the Saints 2 straight 12, Richmond 1 straight 6, 13 minutes into the opening term.
It was just a bit of smarts from Dusty Martin. There was a St Kilda player involved in the tackle. He had one hand free, and Dusty Martin just ripped it out of him and then just handballed it off to Liam Baker. Just good awareness there from Dusty to stay involved in the contest. Looked like it was going to be just another ball up. The umpire was almost about to call it, but Dusty just staying involved in the contest and feeding off to Liam Baker, and a nice little smart dribbler.
That's just a good effort goal, wasn't it? They just continued to apply the pressure, stay around the contest, didn't leave. Great finish from Baker.
How's young Bauer playing out of the goal square as well, which is something a little bit different, almost as the true full forward.
He had that nightmare debut where he did his hamstring in the first passage of play is involved in. He had 3 attempts in it. Tigers get the clearance for the moment, but it's spoiled away by Wood out onto the wing. Running onto it, Steele. He looks up towards half forward. Kick is wide of King. Charging out. Young's onto it. Gets the hand pass forward. Links up with Taranto. Looks into the middle of the ground. Hand pass down low for Shea Bolton. Couldn't gather, but Dow could. Ran into a dead end. He's tackled by Filippo, but was taken high. Thompson Dow takes it for the Tigers. Kicks laterally out to the city wing, and McIntosh marks. Swings onto his right-hand side. Kicks over the head of Jack Revolt. Bauer comes charging out. Good mark taken from Battle. Off balance, but able to hang on to the mark. He feeds the hand pass around the back to Steele. Up towards Sharman. Couldn't quite get a hand to it. He did spoil it down, though. Broad had it. Tackled by Sharman, holding the footy. Saints take the advantage. Higgins with the hand pass away. Links it up. Gets the hand pass to Sharman, who works it forward. Max King hadn't moved. He takes the mark at centre half forward, just inside 50.
Max King gets a little bit of reward there for staying deep inside 50. All the Richmond defenders that all come up the ground. That's an area of the game they've actually been doing really well so far, Richmond, with Vloston and Broad and Bolter all being proactive in defence. But the tackle and turnover just allowed the ball to be used straight back through the corridor, and Max King standing there all by himself.
9th game for the season, 16 goals, 7, with the famous number 12 on his back. Max King comes in from 50, beautiful kick, and puts through St Kilda's third. 3 straight 18 to the Tigers, 1 straight 6. 15 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport.
Well done Cooper Sharman there. His ability to... I thought the Tigers and Nick Vloston had a really good setup behind the footy there as that ball came out, exited their D50, but just made the contest dubious, I thought, at the time, but he got the ball to ground. They applied pressure onto Broad, got the ball going forward. They didn't wait for the whistle went. They didn't slow down. Cooper Sharman, great kick, and Big King at the back, as all good full forwards tend to be able to find that space, don't they?
So sometimes you should just play as deep as you can, and if you get one on a turnover, then you're just free inside 50. So it's not bad thinking just to try and play one key forward really deep and just try and stretch the defence.
Back to 2 goals. St Kilda's lead and King involved early, so we got a free kick here for a ruck infringement in the middle that's going against Soldo. And Marshall will take it, which means another inside 50 coming up for the Saints. The long drop punt to the hot spot. They're all down there, slides out the back of the pack. And Young just says, get it out of here as he jams it on the boot to half-back for Richmond. Soldo collects, the fend off to Wood. Hand pass away to McIntosh for the Tigers, gives it back to Pickett. Short kick along the ground, awkward half volley to collect for Prestia. Fumbles once, twice, now gathers, gives it to Soldo. Hand pass on the wing for Richmond to Short. Pokes a hand pass through to Dow. Gives it to McIntosh, who's immediately under the pump. Back to Dow. Steps his way around the would-be tackle in Butler. Now Dow can kick Richmond inside the forward 50. Hands to it from Bauer, trying to take the juggled mark, unsuccessful. Says play on, and Owens can rebound off half-back for St Kilda.
Long kick up towards Butler. They're on the break here. Butler marks and takes a bounce. Centre of the city wing. He's got support. He thinks about the hand pass. Instead, he keeps running. Ignores Wood. He wants to kick inside 50 for Higgins, who takes the mark. Lunging to his right, he's playing on, boundary side, a dribbler kick, looking for Membry. He picks it up cleanly, hand pass to Max King around the corner, puts through his second. It wasn't all that pretty, but it was effective. And the Saints skip out to an 18-point advantage. 4 straight 24 to the Tigers, 1 straight 6. 17 minutes gone, opening term on ABC Sport.
No, it wasn't pretty, but again, Lids, they, rather than come down and put more numbers in your back line, St Kilda, they just kept a couple forwards out by themselves, and on turnover they were just free. Like the last one where Max King was just staying really deep. On this occasion it was Butler who was just sitting outside on the far wing, and the ball came through to him. I thought he may have missed an opportunity to get it over the back to Max King, who worked really hard back towards goal, but just was composed with the football, hit up Higgins, who for whatever reason decided to play on and dribble one in to the top of the square, but Max King finishing off. Good work in the end.
Second up from that shoulder injury. Max King kicked 2 last week. He's got 2 early ones here. 18-point lead for the Saints. We're going to have another ball up in the middle of the ground.
Goal for the Bulldogs. It's back to a 2-point game. Riley West with a goal, and all of a sudden Hawthorn's lead is cut to 2.
Big ramifications for the Saints as another one of those teams on 11 wins. Along with...
We've got 2 minutes to go in Tassie.
Giants still to play. St Kilda playing here. Obviously a chance to get off 11 wins, and Essendon got to 11 yesterday. Here at Docklands from the stoppage. Owens moves through it, wins the footy. Hand pass to Sinclair to Hill. Handball out to the captain. To Stocker rather, who's got it at half back and chips it short. Back to Sinclair. In front of the benches. Low trajectory drop punt is perfect. Like a laser. Straight to Bradley Hill, who marks left half forward for the Saints. Crowded forward 50. They need another good kick. They've got one. And Mateus Filippo marks in the corridor, 40 out straight in front.
Well, there's your prime movers.
Yeah, exactly.
In Sinclair getting his hands on the football here on centre wing and seeing Brad Hill and just putting it straight over the top into his space. And then Brad Hill, who's one of probably the better decision makers going inside 50 in the competition, just waited for opportunities to arise and hit him straight in front of probably 2 or 3 other teammates, to be honest.
This would be some start. Mateus Filippo, the youngest man on the ground, moves in. He's got it. And St Kilda have the first 5 goals. 5 straight. Richmond 1 straight at the other end. And that is a sensational start for St Kilda. 20 minutes in. Saints by 24 points. A loud start under the roof at Docklands for the Saints.
Yeah, we spoke about it, Murph. And when you get the ball into your hands of your prime movers, Sinclair's obviously one of those. Brad Hill's one they try and get the ball in his hands. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned for Richmond's defence at the moment. They're just sagging off just that enough. And you know what I love though is that the Saints are willing to bite off that kick and they're going for it. That was had to be a perfect kick over the top of Dan Rioli, who was playing in front of Hill. But then Hill picks out Mateus Filippo, in between 4 or 5 Richmond players who they didn't lock down. They didn't find their opponent.
Time's going to run out in Tassie. The Hawks worked it to centre half forward. Mitch Lewis took his full 30 seconds, took a shot and missed. Hawthorn retained possession. They win by 3 points, 9-13-68 to the Western Bulldogs, 9-10-64. So the Dogs all of a sudden will slide to 8th spot, having been right alongside the Blues in the top half, in the bottom half of the 8. So big loss there for the Western Bulldogs in Tassie. Hawthorn 2 on the run. Dustin Martin at half forward, kicks long towards the goal square, unable to get there. Baker And the mark is taken on the last line by Cordy. Top of the defensive goal scorer, he plays on and gives the hand pass away to Wilkie, to Winhager, who can hand pass it over the top to Gresham. A couple of goals in the opening term to a dead end as Wilkie's tackled, stripped of it. Well taken in the end, working it forward. Coulthard into the pocket. Couple of juggles from Jack, can't hang on. Spills out towards Martin, somehow kept it alive. No. He threw it, trying to tap it towards Ross. It was a bit of a flick in the end, and the umpire says that's a throw, and the Saints will take it in the back pocket.
So if the Saints win here, Clenchy, and the Giants beat Port, which could happen in Adelaide, the Bulldogs will be out of the 8.
That's what I was trying to work out. You've done that more successfully than I did.
It's a huge loss with 2 weeks left in the home and away season. As Wanganeen Malero goes for the short pass away to Wilkie off the back flank. He chips down the wing, finds Marshall. It's a hot start for St Kilda here. They've kicked 5 of the first 6. Marshall goes short to Higgins. Just steps his way easily around Grimes on the mark, kicks inside 50 in the box seat. Dow getting back in defence, takes the intercept mark. This is Thompson Dow, the younger brother of Paddy. He's playing his 2nd game for the season. His only match previously was when he was subbed out on Dreamtime way back in round 10. Kick out wide to Rioli, goes down the wing, and Coulthard can't handle it. His opposite number, Battle, sees it out of play. And boundary throw-in.
Saints have obviously got to focus on trying to stretch the ground as far and as wide as possible. That's obviously an area of the game they feel they can get Richmond by making the defence stretched in every possible capability.
Saints by 24 points. Soldo wins down the tap to Ross, kicks a long ball inside 50. Rewalt trying to work Cordy underneath, cleared a path for Martin. He runs onto it, fends off Sinclair, swings onto his right, just hits the left goalpost. Almost vintage Dustin Martin. Richmond needing a response here. They're 1-1-7 to the Saints with the fast start, 5 straight 30.
Straight kicking under the roof at Dockland, 6 goals and a poster. As the Saints work it out to half-back, Sharman for St Kilda, hand pass away to Cordy, to Bradley Hill, who's off and running, draws a defender, lifts a hand pass down the boundary line to Owens, shrugs a would-be tackler once and twice, now can kick inside the forward arc for the Saints, leading out Soldo, takes the mark though for Richmond. Intercept mark centre half back for the Tigers. St Kilda by 23 points. Hand pass to Prestia. Kicks along the half back line to Bolter. Kicks in front of the interchange. Finds Matty Coulthard. Picked up in the mid-season draft. That kick left a little for Martin to do. The half volley eventually collects. And he's almost back where the kicker was in Coulthard. Hand pass to Dowd. Back to Martin. Takes on Wanganeen Malera and wins. Gives it back to Dow, heads inside 50, backpedaling, hands to it, no mark, but an illegal shepherd on Liam Baker. Was there, Murph?
Yeah, just didn't allow him to contest the footy. So it's okay trying to get your body between that and the football, but just did it too forcefully, yeah.
Way too aggressively. He's not the biggest bloke out there, is he, Liam Baker? But you know he's a competitor. But his ability just to make something out of nothing there didn't need to be so forceful.
We've got 2 multiple goal kickers in the game already, and we're only 24 minutes in. And Liam Baker a chance to kick the first 2 for Richmond. He moves in, his drop punt is way out to the left. In fact, it doesn't score. Stays in the field of play. Wilkie collects clean, now he's wrapped up by Nankervis. Tackle taken to ground, says ball up, no prior. The ump will chuck it up 20 metres out from the Richmond goal at the Coventry end. The Saints by 23 points after 25 minutes.
Marshall and Nankervis. Nankervis palms it down. Little toe poke towards the boundary. Soldo races after it. Goes out of play in the left forward pocket for the Tigers.
Great work by the big Tigers skipper. Just second, third efforts, just hunting around the contest. Love to see that from your big men.
29-13 the marks in this match. It's looking very much like a St Kilda style of game. Thrown back in. Marshall in front of Nankervis, palms it down. Wanganeen Miller knocks it on to Stocker. Gets the hand pass away to Sinclair. Around the body towards halfback. Flying in the pack, Owens can't mark it. Spills down the way of Ross. Hand pass to Grimes through traffic. Quick hand pass worked forward by Bauer. Couldn't get it to Revolt, and Cordy gathers. Hand pass around the back to Stocker. Switches to the left back pocket where Mason Wood marks. He wants to get it up towards Hill, but sliding in and taking the intercepting mark is Broad for Richmond.
That's how you cover off an outlet. Nathan Broad, Brad Hill just in space and with pace, but Broad was just matched him in quickness.
Broad from 60 out, right half forward, kicks to the top of the goal square. Soldo got a hand on it, hits the deck. Here's Bolton, grabs it, tackled by Steele. Says play on, ducked into it. Pack forms behind him and a ball up. 25 out from the Tigers goal. They won't be happy, the Richmond fans.
couldn't have gone much higher, I don't think.
He gets away with one. Jack Steele standing next to Bolton at this stoppage again, where Shea is always threatening. From the restart, Marshall tries to soccer it forward, comes to Baker, hat pass away to Taranto, high up and under, is almost out on the full. Touched by Bauer, trying to pull in a miraculous mark, and out of play it goes. So a throw in, 20 out from the Tigers' goal. Just on Bauer, sort of playing as that sort of tweener forward out of the goal square. He's at 192 and 86 kilos, so 192 centimetres. Looks like that Bailey Fritsch style.
Yeah,
wiry forward.
A little bit taller than Bailey Fritsch.
And Kervis wins it down for the Tigers, but Steele's there. Hound pass to Webster, locked up by Shea Bolton. It spills the way of Bauer around his body towards the goal mouth. Getting back, Marshall marks of the Saints. Releases Wanganeen Miller by hand. Takes a bounce and runs through the defensive 50. Over the top to Hill. He looks up and has Higgins on half forward. He breaks away from Vlosten and marks on his chest. Membry's inside 50. It's a dribbler towards him. He can't gather the half volley. Young picks it up for the Ties. Good block from Vlostone. Gets the hand pass to Dan Rioli. Back to Young. He just struggles to regather it at left half back, but has Rioli for support. Hand pass away to Grimes. Back to Dan Rioli. Holds the footy with one arm and then kicks into the middle of the ground. And Taranto marks at centre half back.
Continues to shift out to the dog side to Jaden Shorten, who's off and running off the back flank. Kicks down to half forward. Here's Shea Bolton. He's got Baker on in the pocket. Not a great kick for him. Rewalt leaps up on the shoulders of Sinclair and pulls down a hanger.
Wow. He just said, Brett DeLito, don't write me off yet.
He heard it, you reckon?
Jack Rewalt.
I tell you what, it used to be his bogey team. Sorry, not his bunny, the Saints. He used to kick bags of 6 and 7 against them every single time. So he's never not confident, Jackie boy, but he always knew coming in that he would get a little handful.
Good look, yep.
He's got the long sleeves on, rolled up. He's taken a superb one-on-one mark. How much would he love to finish this off as he skips in, through it goes. Little pump of the fist and a rather modest celebration from the champ. And Jack Rewalt in game number 346 slams through another. 5 straight to 2-1. St Kilda by 17 points after 28 minutes.
346. Wow, that's a lot of games, isn't it?
Yep.
Big boy from Tassie. It wasn't his biggest grab that I've seen him take. I've seen him take some absolute hangers. It was only on little Jack Sinclair. Wouldn't be much taller than you, Murph, probably, but he certainly nearly jumped over. Great mark.
Taller than the average height.
Don't ever ride off a champ. And that was the best ball movement that the Tigers have had so far this quarter. Ability to get it out of their back line, come all the way across the ground. No surprise, Jaden Short, Shea Bolton involved.
Yeah, they found some space, didn't they, on counter-attack.
Second most games played for the Tigers behind KB. Back in the middle of the crowd. Free kick by the non-officiating umpire. Hold, it's going St Kilda's way. Quickly taken by Crouch. Hand pass to Ross. Chips it to Marshall. They might get them on the break here. The kick down low for Membry. Clean pick up. Hand pass to Butler. Pokes the kick into the pocket. Looking for Owens. He can't take it. Spoiled away. Rushing back onto it is Dan Rioli. Takes a bounce at full speed. Draws an opponent and then gets the hand pass away to Broad in the right back pocket. Not his best kick out of defence. It did clear Stocker though. Shea Bolton took a moment too long. Hand pass knocked on by Baker. Knocked down by Ross into the path of Stocker. As the siren sounds for quarter time. Pretty good opening term for the Saints. They lead by 17 points. 5 straight 30 to the Tigers 2-1-13. For the Saints, 2 goals to Gresham and 2 to King. Filippo, the other goal scorer. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, their goals have come through Baker and Jack Rewalt. Quarter time here at Docklands. The Saints in the 8th annual Maddies match, leading by 17 points. And in Tasmania, a shock upset with the Hawks. 3-point winners over the Western Bulldogs. 9-13-67 to the Dogs. 9-10-64. With the Hawks kicking 5 goals to 3 after half-time. And Tom Liberatore picking up an injury in the second quarter. So the final closing couple of rounds of the home and away season, there is still so much to play for. Great to have your company on Sunday afternoon footy on Grandstand AFL, on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
There's a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are. Get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day. From Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Hill sweating on Broad, wins the footy, centre half forward, kicks inside 50, Gresham running downhill, he's onto it, open goal square, kicks it. He's got the first of the day, Jade Gresham. And the Saints on the board first. Spills down to Broad of the Tigers, his hand pass picked off by Gresham, shoots goalward for the first two. Gresham's got it. St Kilda with the fast start. And the Saints two straight. Gresham's got both of them. Handball away from Steele, back into dispute. Now a turnover. Baker collects, goes along the ground and finds the passage through. Liam Baker kicks Richmond's first.
Looking for Membry. He picks it up cleanly. Hand pass to Max King around the corner. Puts through his second. It wasn't all that pretty, but it was effective.
Here's Shea Bolton, he's got Baker on in the pocket. Not a great kick for him. Rewalt leaps up on the shoulders of Sinclair and pulls down a hanger. As he skips in, through it goes. Little pump of the fist and a rather modest celebration from the champ.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Saints with the early runnings, leading by 17 points over the Tigers under the roof of Docklands. 5 straight 30 to Richmond, 2-1-13. Matt Clinch and Colbert Middlemass call the action. Jess Webster down on the boundary. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, it was a fast start there, wasn't it, from the Saints? Not unlike what they did last week. So I'll be interested to see whether they can keep up that form and the way they've been going. As Murph spoke about during that quarter, they were just holding one of their forwards back and really trying to stretch that Richmond defence. We know they like to, compress that ground, but then have their, Bolter or Vlosten really playing out the back to catch it and turn it back around for them. But they just haven't been able to get their game style up and going as yet, which has allowed St Kilda to really cut through them, and they've scored some of their goals quite easily. But I think that last bit of ball movement we saw from the Tigers that resulted in a Jack Rewalt goal, well, that's how they want to play. That's their blueprint. Win it back in that defensive 50, go out in one side, come right across the other side, and then, be able to get it forward into your forwards 1v1. And that's where they haven't been able to do that so far.
Well, if they're able to counter-attack like the way in which they were in that last goal that they kicked Richmond, they can find some avenues to goal, because when you are stretching the ground as St Kilda are doing, there's going to be more gaps on turnover. So if they're strong in defence, which they notoriously are, Richmond, and actually get some numbers back and try and support the defence, there's opportunities to come back through them. But St Kilda, to their credit, have been really strong so far and made the most of their opportunities.
In terms of the tactical battle, it feels like the Saints are pretty keen to hold on possession as much as they can in that term. They took 33 marks to the Tigers 18 and the tackles 22 to 8. So not dissimilar, as you said, Lids, to last week against the Blues. They were able to set up the game in the way in which Ross Lyon wanted. It feels like the Tigers are trying to get the outside run and transition the ball as quickly as they possibly can.
Yeah, well, I feel like with St Kilda, if you allow them to set up the ground by, if you go slow and don't go at them, then they'll defend really, really well, and it makes it almost impossible for your forwards to score. So I think that's why we're seeing Richmond, play a little bit more frenetic and try and get the ball in motion. But you've got to have the quality players there to be able to step through and execute. And I just wonder whether that pressure from St Kilda, that's where the Tigers have turned it over at times.
Yeah, I think no doubt St Kilda probably looked at the way in which they weren't able to score last week, especially in that second half, and were looking too stagnant, and they were all compressing one another. So there's no doubt they've looked at this Richmond side and seen an opportunity to try and stretch them as much as possible and try and open up those spaces for their key targets. And some of their smaller forwards, which have got pace to burn in terms of Higgins and Butler and Hill and Gresham. So that's their strength. They need to try and create more 1v1 opportunities and more space for each other to work in amongst.
If you want to let us know where you're listening from on the SMS, 0437 774 774. Dean wants some credit for Sam Mitchell. The accusations that the Hawks were tanking, all of a sudden, 2 big wins.
Yeah, and they're on the right track. I think we spoke about it when we first started the show. They're certainly on the right track, challenging a lot of teams, and they will do if they can continue to bring in good players.
3-point winners over the Western Bulldogs. St Kilda by 17 points. Into the second term we go. Marshall wins down the tap against Nankervis and then follows up with a tackle on Dion Prestia just on the outer of the centre circles, and the umpire will throw it up once more. Probably just under 3/4 full here at Docklands as the umpire throws it up. It spills down the way of Mason Wood. Hand pass to Ross. Around the body towards half forward. Broad gets on the end of it for Richmond. Hand pass as he's dispossessed. It spills to Gresham. Hand pass to Marshall. Kicks inside 50 and Vostone getting back. Marks for the Tigers. Stepped off his line, so call to play on. Hand passes around the back to Bolter. Kicks up towards Shea Bolton. On the back of Mason Wood. Comes down with a footy. On quite an angle as he claims the mark. Plays on immediately. Hand pass to McIntosh. Works it up to Dan Rioli. Back to Shea Bolton. Involved in the thread. Trying to get the hand pass out to Coulthard. He taps it inboard to Taranto. Brushes off the crouch tackle. Around the body inside 50. Up goes Bauer. And takes the mark on his chest. Pretty much directly in front. 20 metres out from goal.
How good's Shea Bolton to watch play footy? Just looks like he just has a bit of fun out there. Just jumps on a bloke's back, pops up, and then decides to play on with a guy standing right in front of him and give a little fend off, and then go, I might just handball this forward and get another little 1-2. Just created something out of nothing, and just special to watch.
He can do it all, can't he? And Jacob Bauer in his third game of AFL footy, the 2022 mid-season pickup. Looking for one back for the Tigers. He comes in. He's in celebration. Beautiful kick off the boot. And the Tigers are the opening goal of the second quarter through 90 seconds. St Kilda 5 straight 30 to Richmond 3-1-19. The margin back to 11 points the Saints way. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Well, it's a special part of our game, isn't it? The overhead mark of the big specky, but they went from a control play to an uncontrolled real quick, and I think that's what people draws you to a Shea Bolton or a Dusty Martin. Their ability to do things that you don't expect, but nor do the opposition, because everyone's you coach so structurally. Do the right thing at the right time, make a great decision. It's like, well, you can't coach for that because they're thinking completely different things, and then just waltzing away, dribbles a little handball.
The only time where it's fair enough to do that is if Ruckman's standing the mark and you just try and take him on.
Yes.
Not when Jack Sinclair's standing on the mark.
That's extreme confidence in your own speed and ability, isn't it?
Bulldogs losing down in Tassie, so big game for the Saints. They led by as many as 24. That's been cut to 11. Richmond with the last two as Prestia gets a kick out wide, but a turnover. And Stocker takes the intercept mark, comes inside to Steele, hands it back to Stocker through the middle of Docklands, kicks to centre half forward, no mark for Higgins, falls through to Broad, gives it to Grimes, tackled by Hill, took on the tackler, too long, said the umpire, holding the ball. And Bradley Hill will take it just outside the 50. Kicks to the hot spot. Marshall's down there. No mark. Young Clever just paddles it to the advantage of Prestia. Links up with Taranto. Short kick. Rewalt marks. Back edge of the centre square for Richmond.
He turns inboard. Ran into Max King. Gets a hand pass away though. Links up with Dow. Feeds it back to centre half back and Broad with a full head of steam. Kicks towards Shea Bolton. Back with a flight. Went with one arm. Couldn't take it. It ricochets to Wanganeen Millerer for the Saints. Hand pass to Ross around the dock swing. Chips it inboard to Crouch. Can give the hand pass away to Gresham. Swings onto his right. Marshall's the target again. This time he takes the mark. In front of Young. He's got Higgins over the top who wanted it. And now Marshall's thinking about the set shot.
Just needs to calm down. Got a few teammates around him calling for the ball head. But Bradley Hill and Jay Gresham just relay some confidence to him to go back and have a set shot. Tough one to grab. It was a little floater inside 50, wasn't it? It's doing a lot.
Chaos ball forward. A hard one to defend.
One of 8 Saints who have played every game so far this season. Rowan Marshall. And 5 goals, 7 for the season. Looking to try and respond in this second quarter. Marshall comes in. It's a beautiful kick as he leans back at it and delivers it straight over the goal umpire's hat. Goal for goal to start this second quarter. And the Saints restore a 17-point advantage. 6 straight, 36 to the Tigers, 3-1-19. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Well, I spoke about that controlled versus uncontrolled play. Jackie Rewalt gets it. And I definitely know he hasn't got the speed of Shea Bolton, but goes into that fast play. Therefore, it ends up with Nathan Broad, who's got no one to kick to, so he tries to invent going forward. Almost sends Shea Bolton into next week. But and then the Saints when they do turn it over, because they've set up so structurally well behind the footy, the whole ground opens up, gets into the middle of the ground. even though it was a chaos ball, they've got the whole forward 50, in front of them to play with. So well done to the Saints. Good initial pressure and ability, although it's probably not by design, that kick. Finished up in the goal.
Saints back out by 17, back in the middle of the ground. Marshall wins the hit out. Oh, fresh air shot from Crouch, trying to soccer it forward. In the end, he burrows in to grab it, and they've all got him as Taranto tackles him to ground. Ball up again, middle of Dockland Stadium. Roof on. Yellow Sharon in use. Tossed in the air. One down to Bolton. He's locked up by Steele, and we'll have the ball up again.
So Kilda really emptying out their forward line, having one, sometimes two half forwards coming up and playing around the stoppage, giving 4 opportunities up forward with 4 pairs ahead of the footy.
Marshall wins it down to Crouch. Hand pass to Stocker. Handball away to Sinclair, who's right in the middle of the ground. Kicks long to Max King in a one-on-one. Bolter gets rid of him, then spills the mark. Rush by Higgins. Higgins extracts it. Got it to King. King snaps goalward. Advantage applied. He's got 3, Max. The Saints back on top in a big way here. They're out by 23 points. 6 gone in the second term. And after Richmond kicked 2 in a row either side of quarter time, St Kilda steady up. 6 travelled second term, 7 straight to 3-1. And Max King with his 3rd already.
Been good around the stoppage so far, St Kilda. And I sort of alluded to the fact they'll bring a few smaller half forwards up to the contest. And Jack Higgins and Jay Gresham were the 2 that came up from the half forward flank, and they were just the first 2 to run back and create that contest ahead of the football and get an outnumber. And Max King was good enough at the end of the day to find that little bit of space and turn his left foot, which he's probably not used to kicking on, but good finish in the end.
I think it was a high tackle on Jack Higgins, which was the free kick.
Yep.
Looked like it almost was a flick pass, but the Saints get the goal. Back in the middle, Marshall and Nankervis spills down to Martin, brushes out of a tackle, releases the hand pass away. Bolton kicks up towards half forward, McIntosh back with the fly, gets a hand to it, out in the path of Baker, kicks into the pocket, Rewalt's out number 2 on 1, it spills to the front. Sinclair for the Saints, a high up and under kick off the middle part of the footy, it bounces out of play. As Mason Wood races after it, and it got a bounce out to the right. A throw in between wing and half forward for the Tigers, Saints leading by 23 points.
Slip up for the Bulldogs down in Tassie, so Hawks winners by 3 there. Full time, Hawthorn by 3. It has big ramifications for St Kilda, so if they win today, they'll go a game clear. The Dogs could be out of the 8 tonight. From the boundary throw in, Phillippo, hand pass to Crouch, feeds a hand pass forward to Steele, kicks down to half forward, King. Sticky hands, marks in front of Bolter. Outstretched. Now he pokes it to Membry in the pocket. Good spoil from Young, gets it out of bounds and a throw-in. About 35 around from the St Kilda goal. First game this year they played together, Max King and Tim Membry. Of course, Membry injured at the start of the year, and then King has had 2 different stints on the sideline with his shoulder. 8 minutes into the second term, St Kilda by 23.
Toss back into play. King's doing the ruck work against Nankervis. It spills down to the front. In the end, it's taken away from Taranto by Short, and the umpire will ball it up. Michelle's listening to us from a cruise ship off the coast of Alaska, hoping the Saints can keep up the good start for this whole game this week. Cheerio to you, Michelle. Good to hear we're coming through loud and clear on the ABC Listen app. Thrown up, Nankervis wins down the tap to Taranto. Kicks a high ball out of defence. Baker's underneath it. It leaves it for Martin, who spoils it down. Ricochets off McIntosh, who races back after it. Leads front on into Winhager, and the umpire says throw it in. So it goes across the boundary line at right half forward for the Saints. They lead by 23 points, 7 straight 42 to the Tigers 3-1-19.
.23 points. The boundary throwing. St Kilda with the lead, and now with the footy as Sinclair burrows in. His hand pass though picked off by Dow. He's wrapped up. Owens with the tackle and the ball up, 70 out from the Saints goal.
It's almost very un-Richmond-like, isn't it? 9 tackles halfway through the second quarter.
Very low number. From the restart, Soldo wins it down, but Gresham gets the clearance, kicks to the top of the goal square, bounces in front of King. Velostone's back to mop it up. There's a push though. Velostone was shoved in the back, so he'll take it in the defensive goal square. Swings it out to Short, back pocket, short kick finds Graham. Right half back for Richmond.
Graham looks to play on and return the ball back to Short at right half back. Hard against the boundary, high kick up the wing, broad in front position. Takes the mark on his chest against Winhager. Quickly with the hand pass to Taranto. Breaks away from Battle, cuts back on his right. Kicks inside 50, Bauer caught behind. And Cal Wilkie takes the intercepting mark for the Saints. Does that so reliably. part of the All-Australian 40 squad last year. I wonder if he'll go one better this year. As he goes back and Webster takes the mark, just 15 metres out from his defensive goal.
Also up to 106 consecutive games from debut, Callum Wilkie. Amazing stretch. And yet to miss. And he's got the footy back here from Webster. Up against the boundary line, half-back, kicks down to Wood, marks on the wing, hand pass releases Crouch, he can put St Kilda inside 50, King the target, he's got it again. Leaps up and marks, and again, Max King on the end of it as St Kilda catch Richmond napping on the counter-attack.
Yeah, I just watched Noah Bolter in that case there where the ball's coming down the wing, he looked at Max King and he's like, I don't think I can get to him, and then before you know it,
misjudged it.
Crap, they've got through, he has got it now. Well done from Saints though with the fast play. I love that handball forward over the mark. Just gives you that look to get out the back. Destabilises the Richmond defence.
Max King, second up. Looked like his season might have been over. Returning from that shoulder, he misses near side here from the tight angle. Left half forward. 3 goals won. It's St Kilda's first miss. The Saints are 7-1. Richmond are 3-1, so 4-goal lead for St Kilda. 11 played second quarter.
Blostone brings the Tigers back into play, straight down the middle to Broad. About the hand pass back to Blostone, but Memory was there. Short to Young, just got it past the fingertips of a lunging Memory. Hand pass to McIntosh at half back. A rather zealous hand pass back to Blostone, and he fumbles it across the boundary line under the pressure of Webster. McIntosh bumped off the ball by Memory. So the Saints giving as good as they've got in the early stages here. 7-1-43. The Tigers 3-1-19. 11 minutes gone. Second term. The Hawks winning over the Western Bulldogs. The Saints with so much to play for. Owens in the ruck. Ragdolled out of it by Soldo. Clears to the back. Prestia trying to knock it on for the Tigers. Working his way onto it was Winhager. Hand pass only as far as Taranto as he tries to gather. Eventually it's Young at half back. He's kicked you straight to battle. He marks centre wing.
Looks corridor, finds Wanganeen Malira, takes the mark. No, he doesn't. Hit the deck, follows up. He's tackled. Now pink holding the ball. Hot on the whistle, trying to evade the would-be tackle in the middle of the ground from Graham, and a free kick for the Tigers. And that outer corridor comes wide to Pickett, leaps up, takes the mark. Marlon Pickett logo dockside. 24-point lead for St Kilda. As Pickett, high ball out to half forward, Battle sits underneath it, no mark, Nankervis forced to spoil. Baker wins it for Richmond, hand pass to Nankervis at half forward, gets it off to Taranto, dangerous ball to the centre half forward, Butler collects, Broad's got him and ripped the ground in the two-man tackle with Graham also involved. And a ball up 40 metres out from Richmond's goal. 13 gone, second term, St Kilda by 24.
Thrown up in the air, Soldo doing the ruck work against Owens, it comes down to Webster, nowhere to go. As Graham lays the tackle. Saints leading by 24 points as the umpire throws it in the air. Soldo tries to palm it down. Ross was first on it, bounces away from him. Soldo can't burst his way through. And the umpire will throw it up. 27 years of age, Ivan Soldo behind Toby Nankervis. As the tap goes down the way of Ross of the Saints. Kicks to a vacant City wing. Foot races on. Sharman comes racing after it. Bloston's in front of him. Fins him off and tries to create space. Sharman lays the tackle, holding the ball. Great fight from the St Kilda young forward.
Cooper Sharman between wing and half forward with the footy. Looks inside the forward arc. Tigers with time to get some numbers back. Kicks for Wood in the pocket, and Jaden Short stands in front of him. Takes the intercept mark for the Tigs.
It's actually not a bad option having the mismatch of Wood v Short there, but the shorter man won out. Jaden.
Short to Blostone. He chips it looking for Dow. Broken up in the end by the Saints, and now holding the ball. So Dow pinged hot on the whistle. Seb Ross, the tackler, rewarded. He had a fumble and it cost him. Seb Ross back in the team. Had about 5 disposals in the first 5 minutes, Seb Ross. He looks inside the forward arc here. King the target. Got a little nudge. Ball slips through to Gresham. His hand pass whacked down by Rioli. Gresham gets it on the deck. Umpire circles, says ball up. Just inside the boundary line. About 25 out from the St Kilda goal at the Coventry end. Saints by 4 goals, 14 minutes into the second.
Tigers is just the 16 tackles so far in quarter and a half.
Think about last night.
Free kick against him.
Free kick, and Cooper Sharman got a shove. before the ruck had taken place.
Yeah, I think Dan Rioli realised that he was going to contest the ruck contest, and actually smart play there by the Saints.
Sure, it was Van Soldo's best work as he just slapped it straight out of play anyway, but the footy in the hands of Cooper Sharman, the 23-year-old picked up in the mid-season draft in 2021. It's hard out to the left here. Starting with a boundary line, meets the 50-metre arc. He fires on goal. That's a great effort. Saints on fire under the roof. 8 goals to 3. 8-1-49 to the Tigers 3-1-19. And Cooper Sharman with a great finish deep in the left forward pocket.
He loved it, didn't he? Straight off the boot. Give us the double cobras. I love that. Been kicking incredibly accurate here at the moment, the Sainers. Disappointing though when that happens. Just didn't realise, Dan Rioli, did he, that Sharman was the one going to compete in the ruck. He can't block the ruckman.
Now, they started really well here, the Saints. They did it last week against Carlton, where their pressure was just enormous last week, and they're doing a similar thing here to Richmond, and they're just out-tackling them at the moment. I think they've had 20 more tackles or so far to start this game, and they're just pressuring Hunt. Sharman on a couple of occasions has had some big tackles, which has forced a turnover, and scores have been the result.
16-34 the tackle count, so only 16 laid by Richmond, and we're 16 minutes into the second term. You compare that to last night, Murph, where Melbourne laid 88 and Carlton 87, and if that's the standard of the competition at the moment, it's a long way from that from the Tigers so far. 30 points down. From the restart, back in the middle, Crouch squeezes a kick forward, but straight to short, hand pass out wide to Jack Ross, handball to Prestia, gives it to Dustin Martin, gives it back to Jack Ross, kicks inside the forward pocket, deep entry, Wanganeen Malira goes up, spoils it down, and in the end he follows up his own footy, chips it to centre half back for Owens, wants to move it on to Crouch, centre half back, handball in the middle for Phillippo, gives it to Butler under pressure, he's got short sweating on him, his handball's a turnover, Baker's out, through centre half forward, ugly kick inside the forward arc, and Battle just traps it with his boot.
Did it well in the end, was able to get the hand pass away to Ross, who links up to right half back. Windhager's kick towards Sharman. It's spoiled out of play by Nick Glostone, and a boundary throw in.
Man down the middle, Dan Rioli's got the hand up.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Trainer now coming out to him. Saints with the last 3 goals in the match after Richmond kicked the opening goal. Biggest lead of the match, 30 points. Now going to halt play as Dan Rioli is receiving some assistance.
Lower leg?
Yep, right ankle.
Like, I understand, but why do we do this now? Is this a new directive from the AFL that we have to stop play while someone's... There's no stretcher.
Sure. Well,
it used to only be for the stretcher, didn't it?
Exactly.
But no director of football is there at AFL House, Corbin.
That's
right. You bang on about it week by week.
They did clarify a couple of weeks ago that it's the rule is if the player is in the vicinity and it is up to umpire's discretion. So
he's 50 metres away.
They're trying to tell us that the rule hasn't changed. It's umpire's discretion and everything else, but quite clearly...
When has ever someone been hit with a football or ran into, we've always been able to get around it. Yep. They're very aware, these players. Anyway.
Had some ankle concerns last week early against the Bulldogs, didn't he? Dan Rioli.
Yeah, little tweak of the right outside of the ankle. Just went over on it.
So he makes his way off the field. Ryan Mansell, the sub for the Tigers, and Hunter Clark for the Saints, thrown back in. Non-officiating umpire involved again. A hold. It's going the way of Toby Nankervis, who will take it at left half back. Second game back after serving his suspension. He veers out to the left, thought about the hand pass, and now will go the kick. Sends it as long as he can. No one's really there for the Tigers, and in from the side. Windhager takes the markers. Now I try to come screaming through late. That's off the outside of the boot, straight to the Saints coaching staff.
Yeah, he's in two minds there, Marcus Windhager, I reckon he tried to change his mind mid-drop. It never usually works out too well.
He saw Rowan Marshall standing down the line and then tried to put it out in front of him and just completely shanked it.
Nankervis to half forward, Graham flies, spills down to Prestia, handball back to Graham, broken up by Sinclair, spills to Gresham, hand pass to Crouch, handball out wide, got it to Seb Ross, he's taken high on the tackle. And the Saints say, hang on, no advantage, and Seb Ross will get it. But right half back for St Kilda, goes short to Stocker. Looks into the corridor. Owens takes the mark. Ground opens up for St Kilda. Owens goes straight down the pipe, kicks to the top of the goal square, bounces once, skids through to short. Sweeping hand pass though for Richmond to the back flank. Finds Taranto, gives it back to short, heads out wide, and Matty Coulthard takes the mark, City wing. St Kilda by 5 goals as we're about to tick into time on in this second term.
The South Australian, who's played here, there and everywhere in 2023, kicks up towards half forward. Bauer takes the mark. Over the top of Battle. Right half forward. Wants to give the hand pass boundary side to McIntosh. He drills a kick inside 50, looking for Baker. And Sinclair takes the intercepting mark for the Saints. Goes short to Hill. 40 metres out from his defensive goal. Casually chips it into the middle of the ground. Wanganeen Miller marks. Hand pass to Crouch. Releases Winhager through the Dock side wing. Sends it up towards Higgins, who's taken high. Collared by Bolter. Higgins threw the head back, making sure the umpire didn't miss that. And a little bit clumsy in the end from Noel Bolter, who got it all wrong.
No, he certainly got it all wrong. He was running back towards goal, and Jack Higgins was probably 5 or so metres goal side of him, but then the kick came back in front of Noel Bolter, and Jack Higgins was in the perfect spot to come back at the football, and Big Noah just had no idea where Jack Higgins was or the football, and grabbed him straight across the shoulder.
He can sell it pretty well, Jack Higgins.
He does know how to milk it.
He can milk it.
No idea. Jack Higgins, the leading goal scorer with 32 goals of the season, hasn't got one today, and that's out to the left, and in the end just manages to score the right side of the left behind post, and the Saints lead by 31 points.
Kick out left a little to be desired too. Reach Bolter on the bounce as short headed out to half back. Bolter cleans it up and drives his kick down the wing. Baker the target. Cordy punches it back into the corridor. Numbers for St Kilda. Seb Ross. Hand pass away to Wanganeen Malera. Kicks in the middle of the ground. Turns it over. McIntosh with the intercept mark. Outer edge of the centre square. Pokes his pass wide to Prestia. Prestia short kick to high half forward for Dow. Second game of the year for Thompson Dow and jumper number 27. St Kilda by game high 31. Time on in this second term. He kicks to the top of the goal square. Standing in front, Cordy with the intercept mark. Comes up with it for St Kilda. Goes back to Wanganeen Malera. Still at half, still in the back pocket. And now to half back for Rowan Marshall. Slow build up for the Saints on this occasion.
Marshall inboard is able to find an avenue through Seb Ross, who marks at centre half back. Kicks into the middle of the ground where Stocker can mark. Hand pass over the top. Links up with Crouch. Wants to try and give it over the top to Gresham. Good chase from Dow. Hand pass to Broad, who gathers for the Tigers. Hand pass to McIntosh. Down low for Vlosten. Good pressure from Sinclair. Couldn't link up with Martin. Still the Tigers there. Down with a hand pass to Vlostone from centre half back through the middle of Docklands. Revolt marks. He has Coulthard at right half forward. He wants a 50. He thinks Wilkie moved on the mark. It's not paid. Has to now chip it laterally to Martin from 52. Dusty goes for home and misses to the right-hand side. Baker wanted in the pocket. Martin decided to go for goal. Just not quite clicking for the Tigers at the moment. St Kilda by 30 points.
Certainly stiff there. I think that he certainly milked the 50. He went off his line. Wilkie on the mark. Jack was trying to draw the free and did, but the umpire didn't pay it for whatever reason.
He's had a great year, Wanganeen Malera. He's taken almost half of all their kickouts. Such a safe user in just his second season of footy. Heads out to half-back for Cordy. They poke it down the wing. Sharman comes inboard to Higgins. Hand pass to Seb Ross. Kicks to half-forward for Owens. About 70 out. Goes long. Top of the goal square. Max King the target. Caught in a tangle with Grimes. It's a free kick for King. King's going to get it top of the goal square. Grimes took his eyes off the footy and just blocked the run of Max King, didn't allow him through, and the umpire right on the spot hands the footy to Max King in prime position.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how good you are, how much experience you have. When there's speed on the ball and it's coming in quick, it just puts you under the pump. And we saw that just then with Dylan Grimes. It wasn't able to engage. Fine, King sitting out the back again, and as soon as you get lost with the ball coming in over your head like that, you get reachy and grabby, and that's exactly what happened.
It's a St Kilda kind of game so far. This to grow their game high advantage. They're out by 6 goals. And King Max has 4 of his own. 24 minutes into the second term. 9-2-56. Richmond 3-2-20. A 6-goal advantage as we tick towards half-time.
Yeah, it was Grimes on that occasion giving away the free kick, but just been watching Max King so far against Noel Bolter today, and there's been just so much space that he's been allowed to run back towards goal. And so I'm not sure whether or not Richmond have to change up, not their matchup, but just their defensive structure, because at the moment on counter-attack, St Kilda are just moving the ball far too easy. So whether or not it's the outlets coming out of D50 that Richmond really need to tidy up, because their defenders are playing a proactive defence and the ball's coming out too quick, and St Kilda just flying out the back and just got too many options ahead of the football.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. The Saints with the last 4 goals of the match. Back in the middle, Marshall wins down the tap. Spills down towards Taranto. Tries to toe poke it to his own advantage. Crouch knocks it on. Gets it to Wood for the Saints. Hand pass inboard to Steele. Hand pass to Sinclair at the back edge of the centre square. Kicks out laterally and Sharman takes the mark. Left half back. Looks through the middle of the ground. Not a great kick. Looking for Filippo. Vlostone takes the intercepting mark for the Tigers. He wants to go straight down the middle. Coulthard's all on his own. He marks at the edge of the centre square. Turns, missed now. Curvis goes for Revolt. He flies over the top of Wood. Can't take the mark. Wilkie gathers. Goes short and Hill. Called to play on at half-back.
Looks in the corridor. They're queuing up. Butler takes the mark. The Premiership Tiger against his old mob. Plays on. Kicks inside 50. Owen spills the mark. Keeps it in front of him. Open goal square. Can't get boot to ball. Higgins has a go. Likewise, doesn't even score. Young on the behind line, kicks it a line for Richmond. Hands it to McIntosh, away to Short, and they get out of danger. Hand pass, a short kick to Coulthard. Swings a hand pass back to Short. His third touch in the chain. It's a great kick. Up over halfway, finds Prestia. Looks inside the forward 50. Dustin Martin takes the mark on the attacking arc. And they turn that goal-saving effort into a score at the other end. That's a superb kick. Baker, top of the goal square, marks for Richmond. They've gone the length of the field.
It was a superb kick, and it was great space awareness from every Richmond player who had their ball in hand looking forward. And then it was Toby Nankervis who he understood that Liam Baker was behind him and just made body contact with his direct opponents to create the space for him.
The Tyler Young save on the behind line at the other end turns into a goal at the other. Baker squeezes it through for his second. And Richmond keep themselves in touch. 27 gone second term. Tigers 4-2-26. Trail St Kilda 9-2-56. Saints by 5 goals as we approach half time.
Yeah, you said get to Tyler Young. It was his effort down there on the goal line, stopped it, but it was the run of Jaden Short. He got involved initially there with Tyler Young, kicks out, continues to go. And then he had a couple of options that he could have gone short that could have settled them down. But he decided, no, if I can see Dion Prestia on the inside there with only a 50-metre kick, just changed the angles, which opened up the whole game. Allowed Dustin Martin to get free, and then Liam Baker sneaking down on the offside, all on his own to draw them back within 5 goals.
Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport. Jess Webster on the boundary. Any sign of Dan Rioli?
No, he's still down in the rooms with the physios. Ryan Mansell, the sub, has done a couple of run-throughs on the bench, but is sitting in the back row at the moment. So maybe the club will wait till half-time to make the call.
Thanks, Jess. Bolton got it to Dow. Hand pass away to Ross inside 50. He misses offline to the left. Golden opportunity charging inside the forward arc. Just couldn't quite make it count. Saints leading by 29 points approaching half-time.
Pretty handy pick up and attack of the football. Thompson Dow there coming out of the second square bounce.
Just his 15th game, Thompson Dow, second of the season. Sinclair short to Stocker in the back pocket. He's going to go long down the line. Marshall and Owens both in the pack for St Kilda. Off hands, spills through out in front of Wood. Banged into by Vlostone. Owens just attacks the footy. Breaks the would-be tackle of Vlostone. Over halfway for the Saints. Hand pass to Crouch. Handball down to Butler. Superb kick back inboard to Gresham. He marks in the corridor, 35 out. And just running with numbers at the moment, St Kilda. Butler in front of the play, and the superb kick pulling it back over his left shoulder into the corridor.
He's an impressive lad, Mitch Owens, isn't he? He had the ability to break those tackles and continue on, even though the high tackle. They gather for a guy 192, spin. Love that. Dan Butler doing his best work in the forward half. Great little kick to find Gresham in there at speed, right across his body.
Jade Gresham kicked the first 2 of the game. He moves in here, he makes it 3. St Kilda are marching all over the Tigers. Half hour mark in the second term. The Saints out by 35 points. 10-2-62, Richmond 4-3-27, Grandstand AFL, Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio.
Yeah, he's a real find, Mitch Owens. You'd love to see any player of any size do that sort of stuff, but when you're a tall player who can pick the ball up off the deck and then stay really strong, as you said, Lids, in the contest, and a few nice little tricks that he's got.
Yeah.
They've certainly found one there, St Kilda, but just quick ball movement and getting yardage on the play, and then just giving first option ahead of the football. St Kilda playing a pretty exciting brand of football today. We sort of questioned whether or not they were attacking enough, or they had too many, or they didn't have enough sort of strings to the bow. But today they've looked fantastic.
They kicked 54 points last week to full time. They're on 62 at the moment, 90 seconds before half time.
Well, I think it comes back to just creating space for one another. I think they've certainly come up with a different game style ahead of the football, and it's easier for your players to the midfield to find opportunities.
Free kick going the way of Jack Steele. Long kick towards King. It's spoiled away from him. Young provided the support in the air. It gets to half-back. Prestia gathers for the Tigers. Up towards one-on-ones. Rewald out in front. Can't take the mark. Wilkie bounce into Baker. Gets the hand pass to Stocker. Kicks out to Hill on the wing. Can't gather. McIntosh taps it forward and out of play. And a good battle there. Captain McIntosh would be happy to see it out for a boundary throw-in.
How Wilkie feeling a little worse for wear after running into Liam Baker. Just beelines the footy, that little fella. Love it.
Looks like he's got a real hard body, Liam Baker. Some guys you just know you get hit, and he looks like he's one of them.
Saints by 35 points. Marshall and Nankervis. Nankervis down to the front. Martin trying to race after it. Dusty back, gets the hand pass away to Thompson Dow. He looks up, sold around Filippo. Back to Martin. Spies a kick towards Jack Rebold. It's down low. Can't gather. Knocks it on to Shea Bolton. On the run, working it right to left. Got it. Wow. Just what Richmond needed. Another bit of class from Shea Bolton to put through his first goal of the match, and one just ahead of half-time for the Tigers. St Kilda 10-2-62 to the Tigers 5-3-33. 31 minutes gone, second term on ABC Sport.
They've certainly got some class, we obviously know, with Dusty Martin and Shea Bolton, but the other name in that was Thompson Dow, who had a nice little step, and he's shown that on probably
3 or 4 times, hasn't he?
3 or 4 occasions today where he's caught someone off guard by stepping and backing himself in and finding space for his teammates. So you'd love to see some of these older players who we obviously love watching in Shea Bolton and Dusty Martin, but you love seeing these young kids come to work and show a few tricks around the stoppage.
Up to 15 now, Thompson Dow. 4 clearances. Good stuff.
29 points. St Kilda's lead as Marshall wins the hit out back in the middle. Down to Baker, squeezes a kick out to Prestia. Hand pass to Bolton, who's involved again. Heads out to half forward. No mark there for Baker. Has it knocked from his grasp. Martin collects, breaks one tackle. Can't break Stockers. Liam Stocker locks him up and wins the footy. Half back to St Kilda. He'll go long down to half forward. Time ticking down in this first half, and Young in the box seat takes the intercept mark, cuts back inboard to Prestia, and that'll do. Half time at Dockland. St Kilda kicked 5 goals in each the first and second terms, and they lead Richmond at the long break by 29 points. So 10-2-62 St Kilda, Richmond 5-3-33. A 29-point advantage for the Saints. Despite the fact they've kicked 10 goals so far, they have only had 4 goal kickers. So 4 for Max King, 3 for Jade Gresham, and then singles for Filippo and for Sharman.
And Marshall for one as well.
And Marshall with the other one. 5 goal scorers, in fact, for their 10 goals that they've put past Richmond so far. That's correct. Thanks, Clenchy. 2 for Baker, 1 for Rewalt, 1 for Bauer, and now 1 for Bolton. The goal kickers for Richmond.
So 5 goals in the first quarter for the Saints, 5 goals in the second to the Tigers 3. The thoughts of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, well, I think there's a bit of work to do in the Richmond change rooms about how they're structuring up, but I think it's probably more so just their attack. They haven't tackled anywhere near enough so far.
20 tackles to half-time,
yeah, in this first half, Richmond, and the way in which the ball's been coming out for St Kilda out of their defence, and we've sort of talked on a few occasions about how St Kilda is stretching the ground and stretching it really wide as well. So there's a lot of gaps opening up, but if they get their pressure higher in this second half, Richmond, that limits their ability, St Kilda, to 1, get the ball in hand, and then 2, try and move the ball through them. But yeah, they just sort of been a little bit flat-footed so far today, haven't they, Richmond? They're showing little bits and pieces that they've got the class, which we know that they do have, but St Kilda, like they were last week against St Kilda in that first half, have just come for a real hunt mentality and out-pressured and out-tackled Richmond and just wanted it more and found more space on the offensive end. Yeah,
and I think you spoke about it just then in that quarter. What had St Kilda got enough strings in their bow, enough armoury, to really go forward and attack the game, and That's what I've been impressed with so far, and we spoke about it. What they kicked 56 last week, you said?
54
points last week for full time, and 10 goals too, 62 already. But they just looked a different side, haven't they? They haven't looked like they've just tried to park the bus in front of. They've still been really solid defensively, albeit they haven't quite. The forward line of Richmond isn't as strong as what Carlton's was. I don't think they're multifaceted as what Carlton were last week, but their ability just to go at the game has been the real difference, and not just try and be safe and go sideways, kick, mark, and not take any risks. They've really looked to go forward, and they've given their forwards, and we've seen obviously King kick 4, Gresham's got on the end of 3, to go and get out the back, which has really challenged that Richmond bubble, which have been really sound for so long. So well done to the Saints and their ability, but like it was last week, it's only a half a footy, and that's where Carlton really went to work last week. So what does St Kilda learn? Can they maintain it now for another 60 minutes?
Yeah, it's been the likes of Sinclair and Ross and Wangalim Malira and Hill who have been really starting up their ball movement from that half-back flank and just opening up the Richmond players throughout the midfield and then just getting them out the back.
It's only the fourth time all year that they've kicked 5 goals or more in multiple quarters in the same game. Usually they score in a patch, they have like a burst, and then other than that they generally go into pretty defensive mode and try and protect whatever kind of lead they have. So the only time they've done it in back-to-back quarters was against the Gold Coast back in round 4. So for them to have 2 quarters in a row where they've scored freely is exceedingly rare this year.
Yeah, and you'd assume that Ross Lyon would be aware of that. So that'd be the challenge to his troops at half-time would be, righto guys, we're not parking the bus here, we're not playing slow, let's keep on attacking, let's keep on playing the sort of football that we have in this first half and make sure that the next quarter is an attacking blend of football that, along with the pressure and along with the tackling that comes on the back of that, is that offensive ball movement.
And I mentioned how they've been sort of overrunning games in recent times. They haven't won a third quarter since round 16 against the Eagles, so they've lost their past 5 third terms. So they have been slow out of the gates early in the second half and have been overrunning games.
The Saints with 62 marks to the Tigers 44, so that would be Andrew Mawalter's concern, is that after a lacklustre first quarter against the Western Bulldogs last week, that the pressure and the intensity in which he would hope would return with the likes of Dustin Martin and Dylan Grimes back in just hasn't quite been there for Richmond.
No, it hasn't, and that's probably the concern that you spoke about, the ability for the Saints to pick their way through. It just means that they're not quite on the Tigers, but we've seen that with their tackle numbers as well. They're just not quite as defensively sound as what they have been in the past, but that'll be something they'll no doubt speak about now at half-time and look to try and tighten that up.
Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. Earlier today it was Hawthorn 3-point winners over the Western Bulldogs, 9-13-67 to the Dogs, 9-10-64. So the Hawks with 5 goals to 3 after half-time. And all of a sudden the Western Bulldogs find themselves in 8th position. And a possibility that if the Saints win today, they might be pushed outside of the top 8 with the West Coast Eagles and Geelong to come for the Western Bulldogs in their final 2 matches. And the last game of round 22, Port Adelaide and GWS from the Adelaide Oval will take you there at the completion of this match. But for the moment, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. The Matildas are preparing for the biggest match of their careers after last night's win over France in the FIFA World Cup quarter-finals. Sam Wilkinson has more.
Supporters gathered outside the team hotel in Brisbane this morning to congratulate the Australian team as they boarded a bus bound for the airport. The Matildas will spend the next few days training and getting ready for a semi-final in Sydney against European champions England. Captain Sam Kerr could start after playing 65 minutes last night.
I mean, my calves are great. Every day I feel better, obviously, with more training, more recovery.
Regardless of the result, the Matildas are guaranteed another game. They will either play the final next Sunday in Sydney or the third-place playoff on Saturday in Brisbane.
One lucky Matildas fan has walked away from Australia's World Cup win over France with skipper Sam Kerr's jersey. Australia's star striker gave Zara Borak her playing jersey as almost 50,000 fans watched on at Brisbane Stadium last night. Zara, who plays under-10s football in Brisbane, says Kerr is her inspiration.
I am very happy to have this jersey. I would love to be like her, play football like her, and yeah, I'm kind of following her footsteps because I'm a striker and I'm really good like her.
At least 89 people are now known to have died in wildfires on the Hawaiian island of Maui, making it the deadliest blazes to hit the United States in more than a century. Chelsea Hetherington has the story.
The main fire that has swept through the centuries-old town of Lahaina on Maui's west coast has torched hundreds of homes and turned a lush tropical area into ash. Hawaii's Governor Josh Green says the level of destruction is devastating.
In West Maui, 2,200 structures have been destroyed or damaged. 86% are residential.
Additional expert support has been deployed to Maui, where forensic work is continuing to find victims. The wildfires are now largely under control, but efforts to fully extinguish them are continuing in parts of the island.
The chair of a US government-run non-profit that carries out unofficial relations with Taiwan says she'll meet Taiwan's Vice President William Lai in San Francisco. Mr. Lai has arrived in New York on his way to Paraguay and will stop in San Francisco on Wednesday on his way back to Taiwan. Taipei and Washington call US stopovers by Taiwanese officials routine and no cause for China to take provocative actions. However, Beijing has reacted with anger at what it sees as a further sign of US support for Taiwan, which it claims as its own. An entangled humpback whale has been freed by marine rescue crews off the New South Wales mid-north coast. The whale became tangled in a fishing net off Perpendicular Point near Camden Head, and it's believed it had been there overnight. Marine Rescue New South Wales Commander John Murray says a volunteer crew worked with a disentanglement team from National Parks to successfully cut the whale free.
This was about 3 nautical miles offshore, so 5 to 6 k's. Fortunately, we had good weather where fishermen were able to spot the whale and let us know exactly where it was so we could head straight to it.
A hiker has been airlifted to hospital after falling 10 metres from a walking track in far north Queensland. Emergency services were called to the Pyramid walking track just south of Cairns around 10:30 this morning. The patient fell down a steep embankment and has suffered minor head and shoulder injuries. They're in a stable condition in the Cairns hospital. More than 80,000 people have turned out for Sydney's most famous running event, the City to Surf, which has included the world record attempt for the largest gathering of people dressed as Wonder Woman. More from Jean Kennedy.
The number of participants in the run from Sydney City to Bondi Beach was back to pre-pandemic levels. Among those taking part was the Wonder Woman contingent, aiming to break the world record for the largest gathering of people dressed in the unmistakable red garb.
It's all about women being strong, being together and supporting each other, and that's what Wonder Woman's are all about, and we just love it.
Not all of them actually women.
When they registered, I saw the Wonder Woman group and it looked like fun, and I thought, why not? Yeah.
The group believes it's exceeded the 250 needed to break the world record, but that's yet to be officially verified.
And the Knights have ended the Gold Coast Titans' unbeaten run in the NRLW with a 22-10 victory in Newcastle. Earlier, the Sydney Roosters outshone Cronulla 36-12 at Shark Park, boosted by a hat-trick from Jamie Fressard. ABC News.
ABC Listen.
A lot of us want to know exactly how a major Silicon Valley bank could have failed, how a former comedy star is holding off a nuclear superpower, and how did a country a lot like Australia end up with 100% inflation. I'm Matt Bevan. Join me for a new season of my podcast, If You're Listening, helping you make sense of major news events shaping our world with new episodes weekly. If You're Listening. Hear it now on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Passes around the back to Bolter. Kicks up towards Shane Bolton. On the back of Mason Wood. Comes down with a footy. The footy in the hands of Cooper Sharman. Hard out to the left here. Starting with the boundary line. Meets the 50-metre arc. He fires on goal. That's a great effort. Saints on fire under the roof.
Owens, about 70 out, goes long, top of the goal square. Max King, the target, caught in a tangle with Grimes. It's a free kick for King. King's going to get it top of the goal square. It's a St Kilda kind of game so far. This to grow their game high advantage. They're out by 6 goals. And King Max has 4 of his own. The Tyler Young save on the behind line at the other end turns into a goal at the other. Baker squeezes it through for his second. And Richmond keep themselves in touch. Hanged into by Blostone. Owens just attacks the footy. Breaks the would-be tackle of Blostone. Over halfway for the Saints. Hand pass to Crouch. Handball down to Butler. Superb kick back inboard to Gresham. He marks in the corridor, 35 out. Jade Gresham kicked the first 2 of the game. He moves in here. He makes it 3. St Kilda are marching all over the Tigers.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Sunday afternoon footy from Docklands, halftime, and the Saints lead by 29 points over the Tigers. 10-2-62 to Richmond, 5-3-33. So Saints fans would enjoy what they've seen so far in that opening half, hoping for a bit better result compared with last week as the Blues came charging home. And the Tigers with a bit of work to do in the second half. Earlier today, Hawthorn defeated the Western Bulldogs by 3 points, 9-13-67 to the Bulldogs 9-10-64, meaning the Dogs all of a sudden slide down the AFL ladder. They're in 8th position. They could be outside at the end of the weekend's footy. And still one match to come to close out round 22 of the round 22 of the AFL from the Adelaide Oval. It's Port Adelaide and GWS. That match not too far away from getting underway, so we'll keep you across it and then we'll send you there for the second half. Matt Clinch and Corbin Middlemass calling all the action. Jess Webster down on the boundary. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy are your experts on ABC Sport. We'll get Jess to keep an eye on Dan Rioli as the Tigers make their way out, having left the field in that second quarter with what looked to be an ankle injury. So he had some challenges last week against the Western Bulldogs, but off the match for a large portion of that second quarter. In the NRL today, round 24, big win for the Melbourne Storm, 48 points to 2 over the Canberra Raiders at AAMI Park, and the Newcastle Knights leading the Canterbury Bulldogs 20 points to 0 after 27 minutes. The North Queensland Cowboys have the weekend off, so coverage of the NRL, of course, on the ABC Listen app, as is the AFL, as is the Matildas, who are still in action. They'll take on England on Wednesday night in the Women's World Cup semi-final from Stadium Australia, so coverage with Ned Hall and the team on Wednesday night on the ABC Listen app, and might be in a few other places. We had coverage of the match on Saturday night on News Radio. I'm imagining everyone's on board, aren't they? As many places as we can broadcast the Matildas.
Absolutely. And what a moment in Australian sport to have a home World Cup firstly, and then to have the host nation and our Matildas get as far as they ever had previously at a World Cup semi-final stage, and how appropriate just against the Lionesses too.
How good's that?
Just to renew the old
another
sporting
one over,
rivalry.
Yeah, another one over the Poms, hopefully, on Wednesday night.
Pressure off, surely, as hosts. I mean, really, they're the title favourites from here. It's all on England.
A little bit, yeah.
They should go through.
Hopefully they buckle under the pressure, the Poms. And our girls get the job done.
Hasn't the narrative around Tony Gustafsson just changed a little bit leading into the World Cup? Questions around whether he would keep his job. They got on a pretty good run, it must be said, in the 12 months before the World Cup. Then Sam Kerr with the injuries, all the speculation as to how she picked up the injury and when she would play, and now all of a sudden we're right up to the pointy end of it.
Are you a live site kind of guy? Like, will you be at...
I don't think so, no.
At Melbourne's Rectangular Stadium on Wednesday night?
It was a bit hollow last night watching it with the dog and listening to Ned Hall. So, I couldn't sit down, like so many listeners, no doubt, that you just out of your chair when it went to penalties and bouncing around the living room.
It is beautiful how everybody's had a buy-in, and you don't have to be a hardcore football fan to be part of it. Obviously, it's crossed over dramatically into just everyday Australians and their lives, and the numbers reflect that. I was driving to the MCG yesterday, the Carlton-Melbourne game, and I looked out the window and there were people walking towards Rod Laver Arena, and there was this mum and dad, and they had their child in between them, and Dad was decked out in a French shirt. He'd obviously been to a Women's World Cup game. He had the French scarf on and the beanie. And Mum on the other side of their young daughter had the Matildas shirt on and the Matildas beanie and the scarf. And then the young one in the middle of them had a French scarf and a Matildas beanie, which I thought was a nice way to sort of go about it. And they were off to watch the night, so I'm sure they would have had a mixed evening, I think it's fair to say.
I think they would have. Of course, there's so much coverage on the ABC website, led by Tracy Holmes and Sam Lewis, so abc.net.au/sport for all the lead up to the Matildas match against England. Of course, if you're looking for any of the programs across the weekend, Grandstand AFL Sunday with Corbin Middlemass, Mark Murphy and Mitch Cleary, the best newsbreaker in town. You can find it under the Best of ABC Sport, also featuring the Carlton captain Patrick Cripps. And he went down in the cheesy game show, Murph.
Yeah, it was a good contest today, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was a bit stiff, though.
Yep, it was tight.
Always a bit stiff when you go down.
Yeah.
Complain about spirit of the game, like the Poms.
Always think you're outnumbered when you're against a newsbreaker as well. They're across numbers a bit more than your average person, I think.
Yeah, the Bulldogs cost me, didn't they? I backed them in having one of the better runs over the past 8 weeks, and I forgot they hadn't played until today, but they lost anyway.
Yep. You were safe with the North Melbourne games record as a hardcore North Melbourne fan as a kid, so obviously you're behind them. And then the Danes got you. The last 10 standing in the Women's World Cup, and it was a bit of a trick question because round of 16, obviously only 8 go through, so technically they fell over at the second last stage, but they played earlier in the tournament, which meant the last 2 left were Morocco.
I've just been solely focused on the Matildas.
Yep, that's fair to say.
Get it on at the pub. Everyone's going to want to watch it. So the Matildas and England, of course, Corbin and Ben, Monday and Thursday in Zane Rugby League. If you're a fan of the Rugby League and want to keep across all the topics throughout the week. And the lead yesterday featuring Collingwood forward Dan McStay. We also chatted with North Melbourne CEO Jen Watt, who said they've asked the AFL as to what might be the parameters around the AFL assistants. Riley Saunders is in that conversation as to whether they might be able to have access to him as a next generation player, but they need some more support other than just draft picks. So what sort of that looks
what does that look like, though?
Well, I think it's around development and potentially money outside the soft cap would be my guess, but she wasn't really...
Coaches, or?
Well, I'd assume so, but she wasn't really looking to elaborate too much yesterday on it. I guess rightfully so when you're putting the proposal through to the AFL, but of course Alistair Clarkson still has 4 years to run on his contract, so she said we're hoping Brett Ratton will want to be involved in the club, but in what role, we'll discuss that at the end of the season. So it feels like they need a bit of support for Alistair Clarkson with a senior assistant or maybe potentially some more support staff.
How's that where you get the coach over the line, pay him a huge salary to come and say, look, we got the big fish, and then a year later you're crying poor saying, look, we need some more support around him, we need to get some other people in the football department.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, well there's no doubt that
I think
a large portion of that money is going to Alistair Clarkson, so it's hard to probably get the best assistants underneath him, isn't it, without asking for more money in the soft cap. So they've probably found out that they've maybe paid one guy a bit too much, maybe.
Well, that's why you need to go the Geelong theory, or what we heard was Geelong theory, is don't pay anyone too much, but keep them all together. Well, there you go. Case in point. Maybe halve it.
Sell the environment and the lifestyle.
Yeah, other teams might cotton onto that and think that's the way to go about it, the way the Cats are doing it.
Maybe.
A bit harder in Sydney and a few other places, given the cost of living. Does Nick Dacos still win the Brownlow?
I think he still wins it. Yeah, I'm confident.
Still wins it?
Yeah, I reckon he still wins it.
Wow.
I think he's just been... Obviously, everyone's on Marcus Bontempelli at the moment, which is fair enough. He's been an absolute star and has been for quite some time. But I think Nick Dacos will still hold on in a really tight finish.
I was saying on Friday night after his brother Josh was best of field, could you imagine the twist when they read the votes out and Gill gets to that game and says, it's Collingwood versus Geelong, 3 votes, Dacos, Jay.
Couldn't do it to us, could he?
With obviously you'd imagine Nick would be leading or close to it at that stage.
Saints leading by 29 points here at Docklands. Into the second half we go. Here's Corbin Middlemass.
Crooked bounce to get us going. Says it's all okay. Swatted down towards Prestia. His hand pass, a turnover to Steele. Kicks St Kilda inside the forward arc. Hands to it from Owens. No mark. Hits the deck. Gresham, hand pass away to Prestia. Hot handball, back into dispute. Membry can't trap it. Broad's taken high. Umpire says no. Broad had to get a handball out. Hill at centre half forward for the Saints still. Gives it off to Crouch. Kicks a high up and under. Shea Bolton punches it away. Out towards half back, but it's coming back inside the Richmond defensive arc as Wood kicks it high up and under on the head of Higgins. Spoiled by Grimes. Comes down to the Saints. Crouch gives it to Gresham. Short kick finds King. King takes the mark. He's locked up by Bolter. Bolter thinks it hit the turf. King's claiming it, the umpires paid it.
Yeah, well, it's a mark, but I'm not sure why he's standing there by himself inside 50. Max King, a pretty handy kick from Jay Gresham, who just kicked it underneath. Some hands coming across his boot, but Noel Bolton needs to be a bit tighter inside 50 there.
So to make an impression here early in the second half, Max King moves in. Drop punt is pure. He has 5. And we're only 70 seconds into the second half. For just the 5th time in his career, 5 or more for Max King. With a career best of 6, well and truly in his sights. St Kilda by 35 points. The Saints 11-2-68, Richmond 5-3-33.
Yeah, you're right, Murph. I think Noah Bolter just needs to find that balance of, there's all this hype about me being this great interceptor, but, mate, you first and foremost, you've got to defend your man, and he's just probably played off a little bit too much, given that he's got 5 already. Big King, couple might not have been on Noah directly, but
when the ball's like in and around the 50 arc, you need to be tighter.
Had to be right up his backside.
It's fair enough playing 1.5 man and try and create or open up some space and protect you or come across that intercept player, but when it's inside 50, you need to be right on your man.
Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport. Nankervis wins down the tap to Shea Bolton. He tries to get away from Steele. Drives a long kick towards the top of the 50. Bauer underneath. Spoiled away by Cordy. Dan Rioli back onto the field. He gets it on to Baker. Hand pass back to Dan Rioli. He links up a hand pass with Prestia. Now to Shea Bolton. Third involvement. He misses. Flares it out to the right badly. Felt like it was set up for the perfect finish for him. Saints leading by 35 points. Free kick to be taken by Stocker. Up against the left behind post. He kicks up towards Wanganeen Millerer. He marks it left half back. Stan on the SMS 0437 774 774. Opening couple of goals for Port Adelaide, so we'll keep you across that game against GWS. Into the middle of the ground. Stocker with a fend off. Long kick looking for King. He sets himself. Membry in front. Can't take it. Awkward landing. Gathers. Hand pass to Higgins. Around the body on the bounce. It's offline to the right. And it bounces out of play in the end. A good result for the Saints. Up against the right behind post. A boundary throw in.
St Kilda have only led at half-time now on 7 occasions. They've won 5 of the previous 6. Their only loss was last week against Carlton, where they were 22 up at half-time. 29 up at half-time here, and that has grown to 35. A forward 50 stoppage again for the Saints. 1 down straight towards Nankervis, who contested the ruck work, picks it up. Now he's tackled and a baller. Still in the forward pocket for St Kilda. Appropriately to the Lockett end in the premiership quarter as Nankervis whacks it away. Down to Pickett. Pickett hand pass out to Taranto. Gives it to Prestia. Handball to Baker. Back flank for Richmond. Kicks a floater down the wing. Bauer just moves his direct opponent out of the way and eventually wins the footy. Shoots a hand pass inboard to Rioli, who runs onto it. Shakes the would-be tackle from Marshall. Rioli now swings a hand pass to Dusty, who just runs straight past Battle. Kicks inside 50. Bauer on the half volley, knocks it to Prestia. Prestia short kick back inside 50. Taranto through traffic, ugly kick. And Windhager under pressure, got it out to Sinclair. Sinclair under the pump, loose ball, 30 out from the Tigers' goal.
Wilkie's able to knock it to the advantage of Windhager, who gives the hand pass to Sinclair. Up towards Hill, revolt the other way, knocked it on to Marlon Pickett. He's been quiet, Pickett. Gathers one way, then the other. Dribbles the kick straight to Hill. He gathers on the half volley at right half back. Kicks up towards King. Bolter bounds in front of him, takes the mark, reloads inside 50, over the fingertips of Dustin Martin. Sinclair for the Saints. Hand pass to Stocker. Gets it to Wood through the middle of the ground to a stationary Marshall. Nankervis spoiled it down, but straight to Gresham. Kicks towards a vacant half forward line. Grimes should get there first. Membry comes to make body contact. Gets the hand pass away to Short. Centre wing dock side. High kick inside 50. Have a go at that Bauer. Rewalt tries to get there to make a fist onto it. It spills to the back where Wilkie gathers. And kicks out to Higgins at left half back.
Higgins moves it on immediately to Steele. So there's the intent from the Saints. Hand pass to Windhager. He's off and running. Jack Ross gives chase. Hand pass to Owens. Owens pokes the pass to centre half forward. Half volley pick up Marshall. Feeds it back to Gresham, centre half forward. Hand pass to Crouch. Still at centre half forward for the Saints. Kicks wide for Hill. He's in a 2-on-1. No mark. Ball hits the deck. Richmond with the numbers. Hill outnumbered. Tackles broad over the boundary line. Forces the neutral ball, and that's a good outcome for the Saints. A boundary throw in 45 metres out from the Saints' goal.
Yeah, they did well there. The Saints and Brad Hill did really well just to force that ball out of bounds. Otherwise, Richmond were probably away to the races on that far wing.
Shot on the big screen of a Tigers lady with her hands on her chin, very much summarising the way they feel. Mitch Owens emerges from the pack. It's off the outside of the boot and misses everything out of bounds on the full. Saints by 35 points. Noah Bolter waiting for the footy to be returned from the crowd. What sort of effort are we going to see from the Tigers in this third quarter? As Bolter looks for options long along the city wing, sends it as high and long as he can. Jack Revolt sets himself in front position. Good mark. Cordy, who got good support from Rowan Marshall, was able to take an impressive contested mark on the wing.
Saints by 35. Cordy puts St Kilda inside 50. Higgins goes up. Blostone slaps it down. Straight to Gresham though. Off balance. Kicks goalward. Doesn't have the trip. And Bolter marks. Back pocket for Richmond. He's off and running. Kicks from the back flank to Baker, who's outnumbered, and Wanganeen Malera over the top takes the intercept mark. He's had a superb year up to his 38th game, the 20-year-old.
I'm not sure if it's got anything to do with the injury earlier to Dan Rioli or not, but he's playing for half-forward flank. It looks a little bit proppy at the moment on that ankle.
Wanganeen Malera goes off the left boot. Shocking kick, turns it over. Taranto feeds a hand pass back into dispute. McIntosh wins it, now tackled, dispossessed. Says play on to everyone. Stocker collects. Now he's wrestled into the turf. Took two Tigers to bring him down, and Rioli and Martin will have a ball up in front of the interchange gates. It is St Kilda by 35 points, 7.5 gone third term.
And at the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide with the first 3 goals of the match against GWS. Martin from the stoppage, hand pass to Nankervis to Ross, sold short into a dead end, and Butler lays the tackle, holding the ball. St Kilda's pressure has been impressive today, and Dan Butler does that almost as well as anyone. He wins the footy for the Saints, swings out onto his right, kicks inside 50, it won't get to King, and Vlostone underneath. Takes the mark for the Tigers. 30 metres out from his defensive goal. Not a lot of movement out on the city wing, so he has to go short, and Noah Bolter takes the mark.
Bolter calling for something short. Kick's not great. Around the bootlaces of Dow. He made it look good and cleans it up. Kicks wide to Vlostone against the boundary line half back. Long kick down the wing. Bauer up for Richmond, claiming the juggled mark. Says he didn't touch it the first time. He's tackled by Cordy and a ball up just inside the boundary line city wing.
They're just struggling to get any sort of good ball movement going forward of the footy, aren't they, Richmond, at the moment? They're just being held up at every opportunity. Can't really get 2 or 3 marks in a row at the moment, so they're finding it really difficult to penetrate and maintain the footy.
Out of zone, umpire spotted a free kick none of us saw, and Philippo's going to take it for St Kilda. Short pass to Sinclair, short to Wood. Still on that wing southern side. Saints by 35 points. 8.5 gone. Kicks in the middle of the ground. Mateus Philippo, the youngest player in the game, eligible for last year's national draft by just 5 days. A lefty kicks inside the forward 50. Short goes one-handed. Can't pull it down. Memory for the Saints in the hot spot. Hand pass to Gresham. A little fumble out to Marshall. He's caught, dispossessed. Young's handball to Windhager. Spins out of traffic. Windhager misses. Snapping goalward. In the end, he had more time than he thought to steady up on the run. 11-3 to 5-3. St Kilda by 36 points, 9.5 gone in the third.
Tigers quickly bring it back into play through Noel Bolter, out to Broad, who marks at left half back. Broad around the outer side to Marlon Pickett. Saints with a couple loose on the city wing, so Pickett tries to draw the man on the mark and gets the hand pass away to Vlostone. Kicks up towards Bauer, couldn't quite clear Cordy, who spun out of traffic superbly. Kicks inboard to Ross, he takes the mark. He's got Sharman out on the dockside wing, spots him, he can mark. Marshall's trying to lumber forward, he's got King at full forward. Sharman looks inside 50, kicks towards Wood. Vlostone set in front. Good contested mark from the Tigers defender, despite the looming threats in the air.
Swings his kick out to half-back for Jaden Short. Just chips it further afield for Dan Rioli. Rioli, that's not a good kick. Pokes the pass over the top to McIntosh, left it short. Windhager breaks it up. McIntosh keeps it in front of him. Paddles it back to Rioli. A series of one-on-ones. Rioli hands it back to McIntosh. He's just got to kick a hurried spiral down the wing. Nankervis the target. Spoil comes from Cordy. Marshall at the drop. Hand pass away to Philippo. Gives it to Seb Ross. Floats a kick back down to half forward. Bouncing footy. Clean ball short. Sharman trying to hang it inside the boundary line. Says it's all okay. It's been a weekend for it. As Butler kicks to the top of the goal square. Broad trying to claim the low mark. Membry there to tackle. Ball up top of the goal square for the Saints. And Cooper Sharman just tiptoeing and stepping on the toes of those in the front row, hanging the footy inside the boundary line, and says it's all clean. A ball up for the Saints, deep forward.
Soldo's able to get it down to Short, who turns it over, trying to clear it for the Tigers. And Stocker marks just outside 50 to the left.
The ball was in?
Yeah, didn't go all the way over. They're all at sea here, forward of the footy, the Tigers, aren't they? As soon as Jackie Boy goes off the ground, they just got no one to set them up and keep them in line.
It's more the work rate too, just trying to get forward and present some options.
Bit going on in the goal square. King was down. Stocker hasn't kicked a goal this season. Veers out to the right. Gives it everything he's got, but it's offline to the left. A minor score. So St Kilda so far in this third quarter, they lead by 37 points. with the only goal that's been scored, Max King's 5th.
Short from the kick out again, misses McIntosh. Has to try and run onto it. Now a fumble, now closed down by Gresham. Hurried kick forward, McIntosh onto the chest of Baker. Can't complete the mark, follows up. And pass to Taranto, defensive side of the logo. Kicks an ugly ball down to half forward and kicks it out of bounds on the bounce. So boundary throw-in half forward for Richmond.
Just kicking efficiency at the moment, Timmy Taranto. Got disposal efficiency at 42%. Just had a couple of real scrubbers today, hasn't he? Finding it, working hard.
So good at getting it, and you're right, work rate, but just a bit of finish.
Number 2 in the AFL for disposals, but number 1 for clangers. Tim Taranto in season. The boundary throw-in comes down towards Graham, half forward for the Tigers, hand pass inside 50, Baker kicks it straight to Bauer, who takes the mark in front of his eyes. 20 metres out, directly in front. He turned around and all of a sudden the ball was coming straight for his response.
I suppose the one thing when you do get a lot of the football is you're probably going to have a few more clangers than a few others, but anyway.
How good's that pick up from Baker? And then the class finish on the left. Love that.
Did his hammy 78 seconds into his AFL debut against the Swans. In his second game back since his return. A little skip on the approach. Bauer moves in, drives it through for his second of the day. And it was one Richmond desperately needed. 13 gone in the third. St Kilda's lead cut to 31. Richmond 6-3-39. Trail St Kilda 11-4-70. 13 gone third term.
Yeah, they desperately needed it. All right, but I'd like to see just some more pace go back to their half-back line at the moment.
Richmond just trying to get
some run going. I'm not sure if he's playing forward as a result of that ankle or what it is, but I'd tend to put him back there or put Marlon Pickett back there and try and get some run going, because Marlon Pickett's probably hasn't really had much of an impact on the game so far today.
Marlon's up on the wing now. I feel where they're breaking down is that lack of work rate to be that presence across half forward or the wings. That's what I think is letting them down at the moment.
Back-to-back goals in Adelaide to Jake Riccardi. The Giants 2 straight 12, trailing Port Adelaide 5-26. We'll take you there at the completion of this game. Soldo wins down the tap. Got it to Martin. Hand pass to Marlon Pickett. Shovels the hand pass forward to Shea Bolton, who's able to find space and send it out to Baker, who marks right on 50 out to the right. Scott Nankervis in the goal square. He's going to poke it shorter than that. Thompson Dow runs into space to mark on his chest. Deep in the right forward pocket.
That was a nice bit of forward cross there from Thompson Dow. He just worked his man back towards goal and just saw the space and popped back up, and Liam Baker got the longest kick, so he knew he didn't have it in him, but just popped up into some nice bit of space. It was easy to hit that target.
Younger brother of Paddy playing his first game since round 10, out of contract at season's end. Thompson Dow comes in out to the right, and it stays right all the way. He can't quite work it back from 45 metres out, and a minor score. Saints leading by 30 points, 15 minutes gone, third term.
Yeah, he's had a good day, Thompson Dow, today, but I reckon he's got to do a bit of work on his routine for his goal kicking. He didn't really have much of an approach there.
Stocker takes some ground, and then the long cannon all the way up to that boundary line city side, and Phillippo and Wood in the pack. Bolter comes across and kills it out of bounds. As he go around again, Thompson Dow, the Tigers give him another deal.
Yeah, I think it'll be a wait and see on that one. We might have to wait until the death knock, see what else is going on.
Boundary throw in just forward of the wing for the Tigers. Soldo first hands on the footy. Spills down to Higgins. Gets a hand pass out, but straight to Pickett. Took on one too many. Phillippo tackles him, wins it back to St Kilda. Mateus Phillippo will get the free defensive side of the wing, city side. Saints by 5 goals midway through the third.
Spots Wanganeen Miller a free in the middle of the ground. He takes the mark. Wanted to get the hand pass to Ross, but Blaker just held him up on the mark. Has to push all the way back now and chips it short to Battle. To the left of the centre circles. Beautiful vision as he spots Stocker free at left half forward. He got poked it over the top to Owens. Decides against that. Membry's deep and King as well. Stocker swings out onto the right. Sends it towards the teeth of goal. King sets himself. Broad gets a fist to it. Not officiating umpire says a free, and it's going the Saints' way. Max King in the marking contest.
Looked like he just ran underneath the football.
Yeah, 100%.
Got the barest of touches on him, but anyway, they're not officiating umpire. Saw fit to pay a free kick,
but that's rubbish because he's played that from the front of the stoppage. He's not side on. He can't see really, and Bolter's just tried to stay out of his way really, but I don't want to sound biased.
Has 5 already, Max King. His best effort in 2023. Directly in front, 35 metres out. King comes in for his sixth. He puts it straight through the middle. And everything's clicking for the Saints so far this afternoon. St Kilda answer back with 2-1 in this third term, and they lead by 36 points. 12-4-76 to Richmond 6-4-40. 17 minutes gone third term. Meanwhile, at the Adelaide Oval, it's the Power 5-2-32, leading the Giants 2 straight 12.
I think sometimes it's almost like the Charlie Curnow effect. Like today, Max King, when you're used to seeing him run and jump at the football, if he looks like he's impeded in any sort of fashion, they just pay the free kick. So I think it was a tiny, almost a little bit of a hold when he went to go leap for the mark, but it's a pretty soft call. But that's what happens when you're always running and jumping and taking the ball at the highest point like he has been doing today.
Equal career best. Third time he's kicked 6 goals, Max King. He's still got a quarter and a half to add to his tally today. Second game back from that shoulder complaint. Back in the middle, Marshall first disposal. Hand pass to Owens. Slick hand pass for Crouch. A little fumble, mops it up, gives it to Sinclair. Hand pass out to Wanganeen Malira. Kicks down the wing. Picked up by Woods. Spin move, got out of traffic. Hand pass to Owens. Saints down to high half forward. Kicks inside 50. Phillippo runs underneath it. McIntosh flew for the footy, didn't get a touch on it. Phillippo follows up. Shoots goalward. King down there in a wrestle. Punched away by Blostone out of play. But no free kick, no re-throw-in. They tangle with King and Young.
Yeah, it's well done there by Young, just to get his body in front of King and just not give him a chance to get at the footy.
Forward 50 stoppage for the Saints. Boundary throw-in, Nankervis grabs it out of the ruck. Tackled by Membry, taken to ground. Up says ball up. And another life and a different version of the rules. It would have been holding the ball, but not to be, with the ruckman grabbing it straight out.
Embry shoved out of it by Nankervis. No whistle. Quick kick towards Baker. Worked it down to the front to McIntosh. Kicks out towards the left half back. Ron Marshall juggles the mark. In front of Bauer at left half forward for the Saints. He's got options over the top. Sharman left it for Sinclair. He marks just outside 50. He's going to kick laterally into the middle of the ground. Spots up Battle. He's a good kick normally, and he spots up Mitch Owens directly in front. 45 metres out. They are just picking holes in the Tigers' defence.
Yeah, and again, it was just from work rate. I think that St Kilda, once they saw the mark being intercepted here outside the D50, they just all got to work and they're just running them off their legs at the moment. Richmond, they just look a bit flat-footed. They looked like that from the start of the game, to be honest, Richmond. But just nice composure there from Battle to see Mitch Owens sitting there in a bit of space.
Round 4 Rising Star nominee shooting from right on 50. It's a beautiful strike and straight through it goes. The 6th individual goal kicker for the Saints as they blow it out to a 42-point lead. 13-4-82 to the Tigers 6-4-40. And it might be their best forward combination we've seen all season.
It surprised that, didn't it? I mean, they've left Tim Membry out of the side, but what he does is he draws an opponent, which then gives separation and allows... Well, Mitch Owens didn't even have an opponent really there, did he? But King's been able to play one-on-one. He hasn't had that support come across. Grimes, we've rarely seen him being able to impact in the air.
Yeah, they've isolated well down there, haven't
they?
So
well, and that's been the key to them kicking all these goals and getting good looks. In times gone by, they've been getting looks wide, but these ones are, really easy gettable shots. But geez, Richmond will be disappointed. They just can't get a contest across half-back. They've just got to get that ball to ground.
New game high, 42 points St Kilda's way. Soldo wins the hit out down to Severos, who's crunched by Soldo as he kicks forward. Young takes the juggled mark, centre half back.
50.
And 50. That man coming from the blind side, Butler trying to smother the kick. You can't do that. From behind the kicker, he's in the protective zone. And so Young will be able to take his free now without someone trying to smother it from the back, and he'll do it 50 metres downfield. His kick now at inside 50, goes wide to Graham, getting back. Sharman does very well. Breaks it up, spoils, wins the footy. Kicks down the wing, Hill and Broad in a one-on-one. Broad, no mark. Hill a bit of body on him at the right time. Turns, kicks Broad a smother, which probably saved a shot at goal. Ball ricochets out towards Preskia for the Tigers. Hand pass to Graham, to Broad, and now to Grimes. Sweeping hand pass in the middle of Docklands to McIntosh. Umpire blows his whistle and then says advantage applied. The kick inside the forward 50. Coulthard stands in front of Bauer. Takes the mark for Richmond, left half forward. Man on the mark, 45 out. He doesn't have the trip. He lays it off. A long-range shot from Bauer right to the goal line. It's touched on the line. It's a juggled mark, in fact, and it's going to Wilkie. He got the first touch of the marking contest and finished it off. And Wilkie from the behind line takes the kick for the Saints, short to Cordy in the back pocket. St Kilda by 42. Time on third quarter.
I can almost hear the press conference now. It is really un-Richmond-like.
Cordy sends it up towards the wing. It won't clear. Soldo, who takes the mark in front of Filippo. Soldo comes inboard to Vlostone, who takes the mark. Looks up towards half forward, wants to get it to Broad. He can't quite get it through the hands of Steele, who then lays the tackle on Broad, but it was over the shoulder. It was a quick recovery from Jack Steele to get back to his feet, but just couldn't quite execute the tackle properly, and Nathan Broad right at the edge of the centre square. He feeds off the hand pass around the back to Jaden Short. On the run, he sends it towards the teeth of goal. Getting back, Cordy takes the mark. No presence in the air for the Tigers, and Cordy marks and looks to play on. Wangani Miller is on the move, and the Saints have got options out on the City wing.
A hand pass to Sinclair, kicks out to that wing now, finds Wood, who marks, and off he goes. Wants to step around Bauer, get back onto his preferred left peg. Kicks St Kilda inside the forward 50. Target Higgins, threw himself forward, no free kick. Falls to Butler, tried to get a hand pass away. He's caught the hold in the ball. Good tackle. There's Vlostone and gets the free halfback for Richmond. Jess Webster on the boundary.
The paperwork is in on Richmond's sub. Ryan Mansell has come into the game, and it is Ivan Soldo who comes out. He looked a little bit perplexed when he was given the news.
So going a little smaller as Vlostone kicks down the wing. It's picked off. Josh Battle takes the intercept mark. Saints a chance to reload. Looks in the middle of the ground for Filippo. Can't quite take the mark, but had his arms chopped. Free kick to Mateus in the centre square. Saints by 42 points, 23.5 gone third quarter.
Hunter Clark, the sub for the Saints, hasn't been used yet. Had 20 disposals last week and a career-high 10 tackles. Filippo with a hand pass to Battle, long towards the teeth of goal. Pickett's got back and provides his support for Noah Bolter to tap it through for a minor score. St Kilda leading by 43 points at the 23-minute mark of the third term. Meanwhile in Adelaide, it's Port Adelaide 6-3-39, leading the Giants 3 straight 18. Closing in on quarter time there. We'll take you there for the second half.
A throwback jumper for Port Adelaide today too.
Yeah, I like it.
Early 2000s.
I was going to say, you guys are our jumper specialists.
Yeah, it's like the St Kilda shake-up version where instead of the columns, they've got the teal, white and black, but with the lightning bolt down the middle.
Reminds me of a Warren Treadray with a glove.
That's what I was thinking.
Back to the pre-season cup days and the trophies they won in that time. Port Adelaide and the dominance in the early 2000s, and of course ultimately resulting in that premiership in 2004 after so many years towards the top of the table and minor premierships. A short kicking game for Richmond in the back half. They've struggled in the front half and they're edging closer to that here. Young to Broad, hand pass to Grimes, kicks through the centre square to Baker. He takes the mark, dabs it short. Prestia marks right on the attacking 50. They work their way through the St Kilda defence. They're all lined up, the Saints.
Yeah, I'm not sure he's got it in his leg. The man standing there and probably 48, 49.
Has to be a barrel.
16 of the St Kilda players are inside that defensive 50. And the man on the mark is only one step inside the 50 in Jimmy Webster. Prestia will try and use the light lamppost advantage as he runs out to the right, kicks from right on the paint. He's off target. Oh, there's a mark on the behind line.
Rewalt.
Jack Rewalt. In a pack of players, there'd be about 8 or 9 in the pack.
They're going to check it.
And he takes it right on the behind line. The question is it over the line or not?
Looked like he tried to push it back forward after it.
Soft signal as a mark. So unless all the ball's over all the behind line, Rewalt will be able to take his kick in front of the behind post. Stitched your long sleeves, Lids, at half-time as well.
No, what I think he's done is because of Matty's match, he's wearing a new jumper each quarter.
Right,
so I reckon both longies, both short ones.
Only got 4 in total there at the property steward. Richmond maybe.
Yeah. Auction them off to raise a few more funds for Matty's match.
Review complete. Looking at this angle, we can see the ball is controlled before crossing the back of the scoreline. Decision on scoreboard.
Good news for Rewalt. He'll get a kick here. Left forward pocket.
Now he's just waiting for the football to be given to him.
Yep. And we've got to wait for the graphic to flash up on Gill's big sexy screens here at Docklands. That was his words, not mine. He's very well uses his right boot, misses near side. Snaps goal. 42 points, St Kilda's lead, 27 gone, third term.
At the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide have kicked 7 goals to 3 in the opening quarter. 7-3-45 to the Giants, 3 straight 18. Port Adelaide on a 4-game losing streak with an emphatic start there. We'll take you there for the second half. And Hawthorn 3-point winners over the Western Bulldogs earlier today. 9-13-67 to the Dogs, 9-10-64. With Libba out of the match in the second quarter. The Saints through Ross on half-back, gets the hand pass away to Sinclair, little tug of the jumper by Dan Rioli, got it to Webster, almost lost his footing, but gets the hand pass forward to Wood, links up with Steele, back to Sinclair, up towards Owens, who marks on his chest. He's at left half forward, 65 from home, wants to move it into the corridor. Ross takes the mark, despite the late challenge from Baker. He turns and chips it inside, 50, good ball movement, and Steele pushed forward. It's just a delicate 15-metre pass to his captain, directly in front, 45 metres out from goal.
Yeah, it was, and it was just on the back of work rate, wasn't it, Lids?
It was. I think what you need to work out from this, from our angle, we get the beauty of seeing it all. With Tim Membry, with his ability to work back towards goal, opens up Mitch Owens free on his own, just at the top of 50. Great decision by Jack Sinclair to just drop that one off.
And he'll have a shot after the three-quarter time siren. The St Kilda captain will set flight from right on 50. He comes in, gets underneath it. He's dragged it a little left late and it misses to the left-hand side. A minor score. So St Kilda leading by 43 points at three-quarter time. Having worked their way into this match with a 5-goal-to-2 opening term. And now 13-6-84 to the Tigers 6-5-41. Richmond looking like they're a long way out of this one at the moment, 43-point. Trailing at three-quarter time with the Saints kicking 3 goals to 1 in that third term. For St Kilda, 6 goals to Max King equals his career best. His best for the season was 4 before this afternoon. Jade Gresham with 3 goals individuals to Owens, Marshall, Filippo and Sharman. Meanwhile for the Tigers, 2 goals to Baker and 2 goals to Bauer, individuals to Jack Revolt and to Shea Bolton. Three-quarter time at Docklands, the Saints leading by 43 points on Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio, ABC Sport Digital, and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
You'll always find top drama on ABC iView.
Tell me what you got.
Always intriguing with The Messenger and Smother.
I don't know who to trust anymore. People think I'm a psycho.
Always dramatic with Vandervalk and In Our Blood.
She really doesn't like you.
The world needs beautiful things right now.
And always different with In Limbo, Bay of Fires, and so much more.
I'm back for an encore.
A surprise holiday.
You'll always find the best drama.
Happy.
Streaming for free on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Crouch gives it to Gresham. Short kick finds King. King takes the mark. He's locked up by Bolter. Bolter thinks it hit the turf. King's claiming it. The umpire's paid it. Got to make an impression here early in the second half. Max King moves in. Drop punt is pure. He has 5. And we're only 70 seconds into the second half.
Has 5 already, Max King. His best effort in 2023. Directly in front, 35 metres out. King comes in for his 6th. He puts it straight through the middle. And everything's clicking for the Saints so far this afternoon. Battle, he's a good kick normally, and he spots up Mitch Owens directly in front. 45 metres out. They are just picking holes in the Tigers' defence. Round 4 Rising Star nominee shooting from right on 50. It's a beautiful strike and straight through it goes. The 6th individual goal kicker for the Saints as they blow it out to a 42-point lead.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Corbin Bittermans calling the action. Jess Webster down on the boundary. The thoughts of Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you on ABC Sport.
Well, they've really controlled the game, the Saints here. The Tigers have challenged a little bit and then really tried to get their ball movement game up and going, but let themselves down with some inability to compete against the taller timber. Marshall's just controlled it all the way across centre half back. They've been really rushed coming out of their back 50, the Tigers. And then they've had a lot of in-out ins.
Repeat entries.
You know, the ability for them to win it back, but then just pick holes in the Richmond defence, which is not, as I said, I know what the press conference is going to be. This is really un-Richmond-like. They just haven't looked themselves today at all. Lack of pressure around the footy initially, and then no support for each other from their defenders, but that's been because St Kilda's mids have gone really fast and put them under the pump.
Yeah, it's probably only been Nick Vlosten who's probably intercepted pretty well at times and had some good marks coming across to support, but usually that's a Richmond trait, isn't it, where they come across and get the spoil in or get an uncontested mark, which then generates their offensive game. But today they've been pretty stagnant, and St Kilda have done really well in terms of not just their work rate and their pressure around stoppage, but spreading hard really forward and picking parts apart in terms of the way in which Richmond like to defend. They've lowered the eyes really well today.
Yeah.
And they've just found those little 15, 20 metre dab kicks, and they've marked the ball from probably 30 to 40 out on numerous occasions today, St Kilda, and that just tells you that Richmond are trying to sag off and expecting the long one deep, but St Kilda have been smart and composed enough to lower their eyes and hit that small target.
Makes such a difference when you hit your targets and make the defenders defend, because they want to guard space and try and intercept and then launch their attack from the defensive 50. But you hit your targets, which they have done, and they've kicked really, really straight. Made the most of their entries. It proves in the proof is in the pudding, and why they've got what's that 43-point lead.
Yeah. The other big result was Hawthorn prevailing over the Western Bulldogs. So the Dogs have slipped down to 8th position. If the Giants were successful against Port Adelaide, they'd actually jump past them. But Port Adelaide with a 7-3 opening term, 7-3-45 to GWS 3 straight 18. So Port Adelaide with a dominant start there at the Adelaide Oval. We'll take you there for the second half. Just so many interesting storylines with still 2 rounds to play, but it felt like it was all starting to take shape, and now Port Adelaide potentially...
we're all just still in guesswork. Really,
Yeah.
Who's going to fill that top 8?
Just on the end of that Bulldogs game, this will be looked at and analysed, I'm sure, forensically over the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. 45 seconds left. Hawthorn lead by 3 points. Bulldogs have the ball from a kick in. Who do you reckon would take it?
Tim English takes 3 bounces.
Tim English took it, played on, took 3 bounces.
I was watching it live. I couldn't believe it.
How does that happen?
Bailey Dale was obviously caught somewhere else.
Or Caleb Daniel, or just amazing. And so that, I'm sure that's not how surely they wouldn't have wanted to draw it up that way.
No, but they would have wanted to get the ball moving really quickly, and he'd worked incredibly hard back to try and get it, so I can understand how it happens, but you're right. They back him in though. He's a pretty good kicker of the footy, isn't he?
The unusual news.
I don't think he ever kicked it in the end, did he?
Oh, didn't he? I don't know.
It's quite funny seeing 2 ruckmen bounding away outside D50 with no one else around them.
Amazing.
Of course, the assistant coaches get told when there won't be a contract, so Rowan Smith will depart the Dogs at the end of the season. A much-loved figure. Into the final term we go. The Saints leading by 43 points. We'll go down to Jess Webster in a moment as Taranto tries to get the clearance for the Tigers. He now becomes the tackler as the ball is stuck underneath he and Jack Steele, and the umpire will ball it up. Tigers made their sub in that third term with Van Soldo out and Mansell in. As Rowan Marshall is able to gather and get the clearance of the Saints. Kicks up towards Membry. He spoils it down. Higgins front and centre. Hand pass to Steele. Works it out toward it right half forward. Feints the hand pass. He swings back onto his right. Pokes it into the pocket. And Higgins takes the mark. They're toying with them, the Saints at the moment.
Well done, Mason Wood. Great composure. I love players that don't rush and just bomb. Didn't see anything he really liked on his left, but then had the composure to sell a bit of candy and get around his opponent. And then the nice little finish on the brand new right boot. I don't think that's been used too much from Mason Wood.
13 disposals and a behind for Jack Higgins, looking to join the party from the right forward pocket. Sublime finish. He stands there waiting for his teammates to come to him and give me a little love as he puts through another one for the Saints. A 49-point lead. 14-6-90 to the Tigers, 6-5-41. Jess Webster on the boundary.
The Saints activated their sub at the 3-quarter time break. Hunter Clark has started the final quarter in the middle of the ground, and it's Cooper Sharman who sits out.
Is there a bit of English Premier League about that? Usually Jack Higgins, one of the best celebrators in the game, but as is customary over there in the EPL, if you kick one against your old team, or score one, as they do in soccer, you don't celebrate.
Right?
Yep. which is out of respect to the side you used to play for and their fans and everything else. And interestingly, Higgins kicked a goal.
Golf wave.
Just no real carry on or anything else.
I'm not sure about this bird hanging off the microphone in here.
We're getting that loud and clear, aren't we?
That is.
I'll take a photo of that. We might put that on.
That is right above our effects mic in front of our boxes. The Saints are going forward out of the middle. Hunter Clark involved here. Spears it onto the chest of Tim Membry, who marks it centre half forward.
If I throw something at it, is that not acceptable?
I can't even see it.
Right on the other side of the boom mic.
There it is.
Well, I think Richmond's
sitting on the mic.
Been pretty disappointed in the way in which these centre square bounces have occurred in this last quarter. And just been beaten a drop of ball as well, but they just haven't really turned up in this last quarter where Andrew McQualter would have really wanted a response.
Had to hit the lead and then
the bird's gone.
Off it goes. Here comes Tim Membry to keep the Saints chirping. He moves in but misses out the left. It makes it 50 points 3 minutes into the final term. So St Kilda all over Richmond. 14-7 to Richmond 6-5. 91 plays 41. 50 points the margin early in the final term.
Turned away from the camera every time I try to get a photo. As the Tigers bring it back into play. Broad and Short combine, and Short kicks up towards the wing. Jack Revolt palms it down to Shea Bolton. Tackle by Sinclair. Ferocious tackle. It spills down the way of Taranto. Gets the hand pass to Dan Rioli to Ross. Puts it out in front of Rewald. He tries to gather. Got past Wilkie. Swings onto his right. Centering ball. Looking for Prestia. He marks, but he's outside the attacking arc. He's in the centre square, just on the edge of it. And no longer within scoring range. Boston wants it short. He'll give it to him. At left half forward. He's a long kick, but still at the edge of the centre square. Saints leading by 50 points as Wostone's going to swing it out to the city side. Bolter has to wait underneath it. Membry spoils it down. Short skirts around, gathers it, takes a bounce out a second as he runs away from Membry. Chips it inside 50. Thompson down. Marks on his chest. He's going to centre it up as well, and Taranto marks.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go, Lids. Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, well, if he does. Well,
no, is he going to kick it? I want to know from you. Well, one of those days.
I do remember watching him not that long ago, that one he bombed from outside 50, and he had way too much grippo on his hands. And he's kicked one of the all-time mungs, but it's gone 50 and travelled through. So
can you do the chant if he kicks it?
I can, yeah, 100%.
Okay. But built this up nicely. He's had 20 disposals, 6 tackles, going at 45% disposal efficiency. Nickel with Jaden Short. Tim Taranto crosses the paint of 50 from 45. Through it goes.
Oh, Timmy Taranto.
In the second verse?
No, I don't know the rest.
I feel like that's a win for us today. The Saints lead is cut to 44 points, 14-7-91 to the Tigers 7-5-47. He said no chance at the start of the broadcast, Colby. You got him by the end.
He's one of my favourites, Timmy. Humble champ. The guy who just gets to work every single week. You know what you're going to get. You know, he'll work hard both ways, honest, and tries incredibly hard. And he'll win the Richmond Best and Fairest very comfortably this year.
He won one at GWS
in 2019.
Was it?
Not the grand final year. But you wouldn't know it. Just a very humble young bloke who gets to work and puts in the effort.
Just the second goal in the second half.
Fourth in the ABC Footballer of the Year, by the way. Tim Taranto leading into the weekend. There's 4 votes off Marcus Bontempelli, who's the leader. Of course, with the Dogs playing earlier today, back in the middle of the ground. Oh no, Hunter Clark went down a little awkwardly. I think he almost hyperextended his leg. He's back up and walking though. Saints have coughed up the footy. Here's Shea Bolton, middle of the ground, gives it to Taranto, away to Dusty. Swings a hand pass wide to Vlostone. Shea Bolton is slow to get up to after disposing of the footy. Still lying face down on the turf. Graham receives middle of the ground, kicks wide and finds Nankervis. And Shea's just doing some stretching at the moment. Still yet to get back on his heels as the kick from Nankervis into the pocket. Mansell wrestling for it, close to the boundary line. Kept alive in the end by the Saints. Back pocket for them. Webster to Windhager, to Crouch. Back to Webster, back to Windhager. Kicks down the city wing. Working his way to the front is Membry, who marks in front of Bolter. Shea Bolton says goodbye to the trainers and he's back to join the play as the long kick goes down the line for St Kilda and Grimes spoils it out of bounds. So a boundary throw-in 70 metres out from the Saints goal. St Kilda by 44. Max King has kicked 6 goals. It's really been St Kilda wire to wire so far. 17 points at quarter time, 29 at the half, 43 at three-quarter time, and 44 now, 7 minutes into the last.
At the Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide 9 goals to 3 against the Giants. Gresham sockers it to his own advantage, gathers, left half forward, kicks inside 50, over the head of King. It's gathered by Young, hard against the boundary line. His kick fortunately finds the chest of Jaden Short. Bit lucky at right half back. Hand pass away to Graham. Links up with Shea Bolton. Kicks up towards half forward. Mansell the sub into the action. He can't take the mark. He's outnumbered as Battle takes the mark. Quick 1-2 with Sinclair and then into the middle of the ground. And Hill marks at centre half back. Wants to swing it out to the dock side. Stocker can mark and he's got Cal Wilkie charging from right half back.
Wilkie chips down the wing to Hunter Clark, the sub. The fresh legs goes short to Marshall, got it on the half volley, hands it back to Clark. That kick's even worse. Got to Gresham on the hop. Still at half forward. Hand pass out wide to Membry. Gives it to Wood. The long raking left footer kicks to the hot spot. Windhager flies. It beats them all out the back and Graham mops it up for the Tigers. Kicks to half back. And there's Cordy. Breaks it up, knocks it out of bounds and a throw in. Half forward for the Saints. And they love that, the St Kilda fans. A big cheer for Zane Cordy.
It's good signs when you've got your key target or your key defender covering the outlet outside there. Forward 50. It shows you the defensive mindset is where it needs to be.
A big margin in Adelaide is bad for Melbourne. It's good for the Bulldogs. So many ramifications, of course, with the results at this time of the year.
And Curvis tries to take it out of the ruck. He's tackled by Brad Crouch. Umpire will throw it up in the air. Just short of half forward for the Saints. Cordy bumbles in and Nankervis, but Nankervis gets it down to Thompson Dow. Hand pass to Short, looks out to the city wing, puts it out in front of Mansell, can't link up with Shea Bolton. As he bounces into Jack Steele and the umpire says throw it in. And applause from the Saints fans as the St Kilda captain is shown on the big screen.
It's obviously bad for the Giants too, but it means the Bulldogs will remain in the 8 if Port Adelaide beat GWS. Obviously still a fair bit to play out. It would mean Melbourne, who started the weekend in second, could slip down to fourth if Port Adelaide hold on to their advantage there. So, what's that, 7 goals, 42 points, the Powers lead halfway through the second. St Kilda by 44 here. Looking to shore up their spot in the top 8 where they've spent every week of the season so far inside the top 7. There's 2 to play with matches against Geelong back here at Docklands next Saturday and then Brisbane at the Gabba, who have lost only 4 of their last 51 regular season games up there, so almost impossible to beat in the home and away season on their home patch, Brisbane. Quick kick forward from Dusty, picked off by Stocker, goes across the ground to Wilkie, kicks out further wide to Wood. And former Roo goes back to centre half back. That's a good kick. Finds Stocker, plays on immediately, hand pass to Sinclair in the centre square.
Into the middle of the ground for Membry, who marks on his chest. He looks out towards half forward. Crouch has run into space. He marks. Higgins was streaming forward. He couldn't quite get the hand pass to him. And now pushes back behind his mark. Has Steele free at centre half forward. He pokes it towards him. He marks. Wood runs around the back, uncontested. Jack Steele isn't interested in that. He looks to send it into the pocket, out in front of Cordy. It's just wide of him on the bounce. He's tackled across the boundary line by Jaden Short. And the umpire will throw it in. Right forward pocket for the Saints. They lead by 44 points. 14-7-91 to the Tigers 7-5-47.
Been very noticeable, the Saints deciding just to hit those short kicks, especially this last quarter more than ever.
Just a change of angles, haven't they? Just picked them apart.
A goal each in this final term, which is 11 minutes old. 44 points a lead for the Saints. Then Curvis grabs it out of the ruck. Got it down. Crouch had it, lost it. Spills to Jack Ross, who kicks down the wing. Rewalt punches it back into the corridor. Sinclair leaps up, grabs the footy. Tackled by Baker. Ball comes out as he hits the deck. Dusty wins it back. Hand pass to Shea Bolton. Shakes one tackle. Swings a hand pass out to Jack Ross. Has it between wing and half forward. Kicks to centre half forward. Wanganeen Malira brings it down for St Kilda. Gives it to Steele. Back to Wanganeen Malira. Hand pass away to Wood. Handball to Webster under pressure. Shea Bolton's back involved again. Attacks the footy. Drives it. Goal and it's online. It fades late. Out to the right and bounces through for a behind. St Kilda's lead cut to 43. Shea Bolton, 1 goal this afternoon. He's 25-25 for the season. Compare that to the 43 goals, of course, he kicked last year.
In your All-Australian leads?
Nah, don't think so.
Hard to pick him with a few other who are pushing their name forward. Mitch Owens took the mark. He was thrown to the turf by Dylan Grimes. Saints fans didn't like that. He quickly gets back to his feet, gets the hand pass to Sinclair. Good follow-up from Grimes, lays the tackle. Kick bounces in front of Crouch. Can't quite take it cleanly. Charging in is Taranto. Free kick for high contact front on, and Nick Flostone will take it and gets the hand pass away to Short.
Short, one way then the other, sends a hand pass out further wide to Graham, kicks down the wing. Pickett takes the mark. Sweeps a hand pass back to Jaden Short, keeps on running, 70 out half forward, pokes the pass to half forward. Mark taken by Mansell. The sub is fresh on the ground, kicks to the top of the goal square. A bolt to the target, no mark, hits the deck, falls down towards Steele, hand pass to Cordy, kick smothered by Jack Ross. Ricochets back towards the goal. Wanganeen Malira cleans it up, kicks out to half back, but Broad picks it off. Keeps it inside 50 for the Tigers. Arches his back, gets away from Butler. Gee, Nathan Broad. That's how you do it. The defender drifting into the forward 50. Little bit of a shimmy, shakes the would-be tackler and kicks it on the run. They're going to check it upstairs, but Wanganeen Malira doesn't look overly confident. He touched it on the line. And this is going to be a goal to Nathan Broad.
Review complete. Looking at this angle, we can see the ball cross the back of the goal line without being touched. Decision on scoreboard.
Game number 124 and just the third goal in his career. So he now has as many majors as premierships. Nathan Broad, the three-time premiership winning defender. And St Kilda, they lead by 37. 14 gone in the final term. St Kilda 14-7, Richmond 8-6.
Just had a little baby too, Broady and his partner, Taylor, which is very nice. Good way to celebrate.
Little celebration rocking the baby.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? But
good player, isn't he?
Just a good, reliable player. Another humble champ who just gets the job done. You know he's going to work incredibly hard.
It's been on numerous occasions today. I've seen
closing that exit.
Yeah, Hill just sprinting across to this far wing or vice versa, and just Nathan Broad just right with him. He must be an absolute beast in terms of athletically, aerobically gifted.
Saints by 37 points. Mark Murphy and Brett Delidio with you. Matt Clinch, Corbin Middlemass and Jess Webster with you on ABC Sport. In Adelaide, Port Adelaide 9-7-61. Lead the Giants 3-1-19. We'll take you there for the second half. Non-officiating umpire says a hold in the middle of the ground. It's going Dion Prestia's way. And the Tigers with a chance to try and get another one here late. Sends it out wide to Ross, who takes the mark and pokes it out in front of Dustin Munn. He marks 65 metres out from home, out to the right. Looks inside a congested forward 50. Nothing really on offer, so tries to pierce a kick to Baker. And that's what Dusty can do. Just found an option when there were so many players inside the forward 50. And I think Liam Baker was even impressed. The kick found him lace out.
We got the vision up on the screen here to see what was in front of him. He just waited. The sea's only parted a tiny little bit, just enough of a window. Just bang, in between two or three players. Liam Baker is your lead up full forward. You'll love them.
Alongside Bauer, the only multiple goal scorer for the Tigers. Baker comes in for his third. Maybe fired a bit too much at it. Missed across the face to the left-hand side. A minor score. St Kilda by 36 points at the 15-minute mark of the final term.
Jack Sinclair goes straight down the pipe. Mark taken by Battle. They all stream forward. Little set play from the Saints. Hand pass away to Stocker to Wanganeen Malira. He gives it off to Butler. Cuts back into the outer corridor. Chips to centre half forward. That's not part of the drill. And Broad takes the intercept mark. Centre half back for Richmond. Dangerous kick across the half back line. Got it to Jaden Short. Gets to the outer edge of the centre square for Dow. Hand pass inside to McIntosh. Spins out of the tackle from Crouch. Dispossessed. Hump says play on. Windhager wins it for St Kilda. Hand pass to Clark across the ground to Stocker. He can put St Kilda down to half forward. Tim Membry's the target, running away from Broad. Broad did well. He got the arms. Trying to spoil, and a free kick for Membry.
Works hard, doesn't he, Tim Membry? Always hitting up, gives you that option. I reckon something that they probably lacked over the first half of this season.
First game since round 9, just his 5th match of the year.
Mexican gets the opportunity to get the 1v1 opportunities, doesn't he, with Membry working really hard up the ground, dragging defender with him.
Goes back to Wilkie. Wilkie out to Battle. on that City wing. Goes short to Hill. Lifts a hand pass over the top to the runner, Webster. He can chip inside 50 and mark to Windhager. Wants to move it on. Finds Gresham in the pocket. Marks. Contested grab with pressure from Blostone. And Jade Gresham has it pressed up against the fence about 15-20 out.
We've essentially gone from the junction on one side of the ground back into the middle circle of the oval and then back out to the other side and just pick them apart.
He's going to hook it across his body here, Jade Gresham. He's had a lean 3 weeks, just the 1 goal coming in. Kicked the first 2 of the game. Added 1 in the second. And now for 1 in the last, he's got too much on it. Misses far side. In fact, probably not enough bend on it in the end, which he was looking for to bring it back to the goal face. St Kilda by 37. 17.5 gone final term.
Jaden Short with the kick-in duties. Missed Taranto. Couldn't take the mark, and it spills out of play. In front of Windhager. It was touched on the way through. A boundary throw-in with the Saints leading by 37 points. Hawthorn 3-point winners over the Western Bulldogs earlier today, and Port Adelaide 10-7-67, leading GWS 4-2-26. Thrown back in, Nankervis and Marshall, been a good battle. Marshall wins down the tap, got it to Hunter Clark, tackled by Nankervis, ball spills clear. Still a chance for the Saints as Steele gets it forward. Clark's able to knock it forward towards the top of the 50. Broad can't quite break through the Owens tackle, and the umpire will ball it up 45 metres out from St Kilda's goal. Crowd posted at 31,119 fans for this Sunday afternoon under the roof.
It's been all St Kilda. They kicked the first 2 goals. They've never trailed in play. In fact, Richmond never got back within 6 thereafter. Kicking 9 of the first 12 goals in the match, St Kilda, and really that was the game halfway through the second quarter. Nankervis grabs it out of the ruck. Half-back for the Tigers, kicks down the City wing. Leaping up, Mansell and Webster. Webster goes to ground. Mansell trickles a kick along the boundary to Bolter, who's tackled out of play. Jade Gresham, so both guys a long way from their respective goals, and one of the boundary throw-in here on that outer wing. It's going to be a big run home for St Kilda with Geelong next Saturday night, and then the dreaded trip to the Gabba, round 24, to play the Brisbane Lions, and they're going to be 2 huge games to decide whether the Saints will be there in September or not. The last final the Saints played actually was against Richmond back in 2020 in the COVID year, up on the Glitter Strip on the Gold Coast, at the semi-final in which the Tigers went on to win en route to the premiership. But the ball up on that outer wing, Sebros, hand pass wide, trying to get it to Gresham, broken up by Bolton. For Richmond, hand pass to Broad, shoots a hand pass through to Nankervis. Now he's set upon, 3-man tackle taken to ground, and a ball up, says umpire Gian Funya. Former teammate of Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy in that all-star Victorian under-17s cricket team.
Right. Opening bowler with lids.
Marshall wins down the tap to Sebros. Sarshes the back to get around the tackling Tiger and Ross. As Sebros said, worked it to half forward, but it's Pickett for the Tigers. Hand pass to Taranto, who works it out to Jack Ross. He can work it further afield. The mark is taken by Mansell. He's between wing and half forward for the Tigers, who trail by 37 points. Looks up inside 50. Bolter's the target. Can't take the mark. Wilkie gathers. Bolter lays the tackle. Gets the hand pass clear. Ross's hand pass to Dan Rioli. Chips it inside. Can't quite take the mark. Shea Bolton spinning out of traffic. Hand pass to Taranto. Back at right half forward. Now to Mansell. Inside 50. Charging out Wangani. Miller up at Windhager takes the mark. He marks 25 metres out from his defensive goal.
Windhager goes back to battle. Right back pocket for the Saints. This will just about finish Richmond off, or they won't get there from here. So 9.5 wins with 2 to play. North Melbourne and Port Adelaide, their last 2. They play North at the MCG next Saturday, and then the Power over in Adelaide last Saturday of the regular season, a fortnight from yesterday. The Saints work it up that outer wing. Butler clever, whacks it away to Gresham, gives it to Marshall, hand pass down the wing, Broad. Takes it for Richmond, hand pass to Vlostone. Big intercept, big fend off rather on his former premiership teammate Butler. Just fends him off Vlostone. Hits up Rioli, kicks in the middle of the ground for Pickett. And Richmond gets something going in their attacking half. Long kick down to Dustin Martin. Has it 55 metres out. Rolls, pulls his kick into the forward pocket. Noah Bolter straight on his chest. And how's that for a laser from Dustin Martin, and Bolter hurriedly takes the kick. It's the post.
Been that day, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. 8-8 to 14-8. St Kilda by 6 goals. Time on in this final term.
Tom Lynch joined us before the game and said he thought Noah Bolter was now a full-time defender, with the exception of maybe rolling the dice late in the match. He's in the forward 50 for the Tigers here. The kick in, Prestia with the fend off. It was high, and Higgins will get the free kick at half-back. St Kilda by 36 points, sends it out to Wood, who marks it right half-back. Tigers with North Melbourne at the MCG next Saturday. Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval in their final 2 games. Andrew McWalter will hope to finish on a bit of a high as Wilkie receives the kick. Sends it out to Jack Steele. He marks centre wing on the City side. Chips it over the top and Rowan Marshall can mark. Next in the chain, hand pass over the top to Seb Ross. Links up with Filippo at half forward to Wanganeen Millera. Over the top to Membry. Back to Wanganeen Millera. He darts inside 50. It's smothered by McIntosh. Spills out towards King. Trying to gather. Trying to get away from Martin. And a good chase in the end. Put on by Young. Wins it back for Richmond. Hand pass to Dan Rioli. Links up with Nankervis. Out to Prestia on the wing.
He gives it to Jack Ross, who takes a bounce. Footy doesn't quite come back to him. Plenty of time to regather. Hand pass away to Prestia. Big sweeping polyfarmer hand pass down to Bolton. Fumbles, lost it. Wilkie for the Saints. Hand pass away to Battle. Kicks to centre half back. Marshall. Hand pass to Hill. Kicks in the middle of the ground. The stings come out of it, and the players really holding their positions here, which you rarely see in modern footy. Filippo goes long inside the forward 50. Membry traps it below his knees. Snaps goalward. Too much bend on the kick, and it's whacked through by Grimes. We have players in both 50s and spread right across the ground, which is very unusual. Usually see them like a swarm of bees all moving at once as Grimes dodging kick in. Eventually got it to McIntosh. Saints by 37.
Owen's got it down, but Camden McIntosh was able to clean it up for the Tigers. He kicked, though, out to the wing. It was in between 2 Tigers, and Dan Rioli gathers. Brings it inboard to Nankervis, to McIntosh. Hand pass around the back. Bauer taken high as he kicks up the wing. The mark is taken by Jack Ross. And the advantage will be taken. Hand pass around the boundary line to Rioli. He was off the field in the second quarter with an ankle injury. Works it up to Shea Bolton at right half forward. Hand pass back to Dan Rioli. Little fumble as he chips inboard to Dustin Martin. Out on the City wing. Fair bit of sting out of this game as Dustin Martin has it at right half forward. No one really comes at him on the mark, so he charges in, pulls his kick. Wanganeen Millera drops the mark. Mansell lays the tackle. Stuck under he and Coulthard, and the umpire will ball it up 40 metres out from the Tigers' goal. St Kilda by 37 points, 24 minutes gone, final turn.
Umpire chucks it up. And then Curvis and Marshall. Marshall reaching over the back, wins it down to Butler, who's tackled. That was his second option to hang on to the footy, but umpire a little forgiving, calls for a secondary bounce. Graham the tackler. Take you to Port Adelaide and GWS next. Ramifications there for the top 4 and even the lower end of the 8, with the Giants needing to win to get back in the 8 at half-time. As we've said, Port by 41. Got a third ball up here, centre half forward for the Tigers. Marshall grabs it out of the right, kick smothers, spills to Bolton, hand pass away to Prestia, handball to McIntosh, gets around one, shoots goalward, McIntosh right to the line, it's spoiled down, doesn't score, picked up Coulthard, snaps it over his head, still no score, Bolton marking, it was already out of play, out on the full. A couple of nearly moments for Richmond, which we've said so often today in their forward 50, it's the Saints by 37 in the late going.
The kick towards Wood, he dropped the mark, then fumbled it, Coulthard charging at him. Hand pass to Battle, hand pass to half-back. Jack Ross can't gather, Higgins can, and Steele jumps across the Ross. That's Jack Ross tackle and across the boundary line for a throw-in.
Well, it's been a pretty taxing game. Lids and everyone, I think, out there at the moment is pretty keen to see that final siren sound. A lot of blokes spent.
Saints by 37 points, thrown in, Nankervis wins down the tap, knocked away from him by Seb Ross. Socket off the deck, but out on the full by Jack Steele. The Tigers will take it in front of the St Kilda bench.
Don't be so pedantic. Does it matter?
Nick Flostone was about to take it, but it has to be Shea Bolton's kick.
And now he's going to go outside the boundary.
He's having a shot, is he?
Even though we're at the 26-minute mark of the final term, everyone's just about ready for the bell to ring. Shea Bolton swings out to the right, drives it inside 50. Noah Bolter the target. Nankervis is there, he juggles the mark. Or he was taken over the shoulder. One or the other, he'll have the shot on goal. slightly left of centre. He'll kick from around 35 metres out.
Yep.
He's competed pretty hard.
He has competed. You know what you're going to get from Nankervis, don't you? He'll try his guts out. He'll get back and help in defence, sneak forward and try and make the other ruckman accountable. It's safe to say that this is a flat bottle of soft drink, this game at the moment, isn't it?
Marshall kicked a goal in the second quarter. Nankervis looking to respond in the final. The Richmond co-captain starts his approach, comes in from 35 out, hangs it out to the right, and a minor score. 36 points, the St Kilda lead in the final minute.
Max King kicked 6 goals, all of them coming before three-quarter time. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 2 in the third. Goalless in his final term as the seconds tick down. Wilkie marks in the back pocket, and I think everyone's just happy for him to hold the footy and wait for the last few seconds to tick down. He goes short to Webster.
It's almost like basketball.
I was going to say, yeah, just dribble it out.
Playing out time, shake a few hands.
Absolutely. And Webster now goes on a little bit of a trot out to half-back and drives it up to the wing where there's a pack of players and a big mark for Bauer. They've thrown into defence. He kicks back into the centre corridor. That's not a good kick. Turns it over. Cordy, hand pass away to Clark, to Hill. He gets the footy and the Saints are going downhill now with a bit of pace. Hand pass away to Crouch. Back to Hill. Kicks inside 50. Butler's up. No. Falls through to Grimes. He fumbles. Phillippo with his head over it. Grimes will mop it up. Hand pass to come out wide to Pickett. With almost the last kick of the game. Hits up McIntosh. And for St Kilda, the march continues. A 22nd straight week in the top 8 with a fortnight ahead to see if they'll play finals. While for Richmond, we know that they won't. The Saints by 36. So 12 and 9 on the season for St Kilda. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, they're on 9.5 wins with just 2 to play, and that'll be it for Andrew McColl's men, hoping to try and make an unlikely finals appearance after the departure of Damien Hardwick. The Saints by 36.
When the Saints go marching in, when the Saints go marching in, oh how I want to be with St Kilda. When the Saints go marching in.
Possession is 9-10 for St Kilda. They are in the top 8 with 2 weeks left in the home and away season. They have matches against the reigning premiers Geelong and Brisbane in Brisbane to finish, to see if the second coming of Ross will amount in a finals appearance. 6 goals for Max King, 3 for Jade Gresham, singles down the page, Owens, Marshall, Higgins, Phillippo and Sharman, while for Richmond, Liam Baker kicked 2, as did Jacob Bauer, and then singles for Rewalt, Taranto, Bolton and Broad. No injuries to speak of for either team. A 36-point win for the Saints. Good enough to keep them in the top 8 again at the end of week 22.
So after 11 wins for the Saints in 2022, they now have 12 in 2023, and the hope that they may feature in September if they can get potentially one more win, with the Cats and the Brisbane Lions still to come, but they're 6th after 22 rounds. Brett Delidio and Mark Murphy with you on ABC Sport.
Yeah, well, they answered a lot of questions for me today, Murph, in terms of, well, when I came to the ground, I wasn't sure what I was going to get from the Saints. Was it going to be attacking? Was it going to be a dour defensive style of game? But they took it right to Richmond, but really brought that heat, that pressure. I was thinking through that last quarter, how many times did we see Richmond players just hack the ball forward and snap around their body and not really give their forwards a chance? You know, your inability to drive the legs and get out of stoppage, but that was because of how good the Saints were. They just applied immense pressure. They out-tackled, out-hunted Richmond today, and it gave the Saints forwards, the best opportunity to kick a score, and they did. Well done to Big Max King kicking 6 today. I thought, Sinclair off half-back was fantastic. Wangani Malira again. There's a reason why he's, designated kicker there in that side. Makes good decisions, and their midfield just got to work. Not a heap of winners, I don't think, out there for the Tigers today, but that's a team that looks like they're coming towards the end of their season, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, I was impressed by the Saints' key targets, and you mentioned a few of them today. Their key tools in terms of Max King and Rowan Marshall, I thought was terrific. Again, Callum Wilkie, they've got some real settled big keys around the ground. They've got some really dour midfielders. They probably need to inject a little bit of pace through there, but I thought today they moved the ball really quickly. They came with a strong mindset to really stretch the Richmond defence when the Saints had the ball, and they just made the ground big and long and just made it easier for themselves to try and hit those targets, and they made the most of their opportunities earlier on in the game and really put it to bed by three-quarter time, didn't they? And love the way in which Max King kept on getting depth on the way in which he was running towards goal and making it really hard for Noah Bolter, he was manned up against earlier on in the game, and just didn't allow, as we spoke about at various parts of the day with Grimes, who is usually that interceptor, and Broad as well, and Vlosten. They just didn't have that ability to come across and support one another. They did really well, St Kilda, in isolating their key forwards ahead of the footy.
Well, they just didn't kick the contest, did they, the Saints? Like they took 128 marks for the game. Would you believe me if I told you that Richmond actually took more marks inside 50 for the game?
I wouldn't.
No, exactly, yeah. 16-13.
Unless the last quarter was through the roof.
Yeah, well, they did cash in a little bit, but it's... I just feel that the Saints just controlled the ball and therefore controlled the game.
Yeah.
Their ability to make better decisions, but it was off the back of their pressure initially around the contest, and that's what gave them that first look. And when you got buy-in and your forwards working really hard up the ground to one, help out in defence, but then to present and give opportunities. We spoke about Tim Membry quite a bit. Machito Owens, I love the work rate of that kid. And then ultimately the big fella gets on the end of it at the kick six.
So the Saints winners by 36 points. Port Adelaide leading GWS by 41 points at halftime. We'll take you there for the second half in a bit under 10 minutes' time. Just in terms of the Saints, I mean, does it further enhance your thoughts that maybe if they could get everything right, they might be able to prove a threat in September? I mean, from a wire-to-wire result, you mentioned at Lids, it was more the manner in which they won, let alone the final scoreline.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's going to be based on effort and want to tackle, chase, put pressure on. Ross himself has said, if our best players don't play well, we're not really much of a chance, So it's going to be a real blue-collar effort right across the board to get the job done. But that's what finals are usually about, isn't it? Like, you've got your star players, you've got a couple that'll stand up. That's Max King today, kick six, no worries. But you need everyone else buying in and just, putting the other team under pressure and then executing the fundamentals.
Yeah, well, we saw that last week against Carlton. Their first half was as good a pressure performance I've seen from anyone this year, but they just didn't have the ability to sustain that for the entirety of that four quarters last week. But at halftime last week, I'm thinking they are almost the real deal here with St Kilda, and they came up against Carlton, who keep on going from strength to strength. So maybe that was just a result of Carlton being too good, but I thought they were terrific today. They played a really good four-quarter performance, and then they get to test themselves out against the premiership side from last year in Geelong here at Marvel Stadium. So they should go into that game pretty confident they can try and do what they did to Richmond today, and then that gives them a pretty good chance of playing finals, don't they, if they win that next week.
Sets up a big Saturday night. The Cats are almost out of business, you would say. They need everything to go right from here onwards, and the Saints would give them a nice momentum boost. Tim Membry had the 15 disposals. Kids
worked
behind.
hard.
He worked hard, but is he a better option than Caminiti in your mind?
I think so, because of the way he plays. He gets up from outside 50, goes forward, whereas Caminiti's more, from what I've watched, I don't watch the Saints a heap and don't see a lot behind the goals when you're watching it at home, but he calls for the ball out the back, and therefore it's a lot easier to defend versus someone who goes up, gets involved, and then doesn't allow players to drop off in front of Max King.
Saints up to 6th on the AFL ladder, down to Jess Webster.
Go marching in! Oh, and the Saints go marching in! Oh, how I want to be a St Kilda! Oh, and the Saints go marching in! Oh, and the Saints! Oh, and the Saints go marching in! Go marching in! Oh, and the Saints go marching in! Oh, how I want to be a St Kilda! Oh, and the Saints go marching in!
So the Saints winners by 36 points. We might take you across to the Adelaide Oval in 6 minutes' time. So we might record an interview and we can bring it to you at the completion of Port Adelaide and GWS. The Power leading by 41 points at halftime. And the shock upset with the Hawks prevailing by 3 points over the Western Bulldogs, 9-13-67 to the Dogs 9-10-64, meaning that the Hawks have won back-to-back big matches, Collingwood and now the Dogs. And the Bulldogs all of a sudden are on the slide. They've slipped down the AFL ladder and they're now in 8th position.
Yeah.
Tigers another loss at Docklands.
They don't like it, do they?
Hard to focus on the venue, but since their former coach Damien Hardwick made reference that the fans don't like coming here, the players haven't given too much indication that they enjoy it anymore.
Yeah. Well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? You can't really argue with the results.
No, you can't. And they've got a lot of fans too, Richmond. They don't like coming here either, by the looks of things. But yeah,
an away game. It's an away game today.
St Kilda do play really well here at Marvel Stadium, though. They play their ground, probably better than most, to be honest with you. Probably them and the Bulldogs. They obviously play here more than most other clubs. But yeah, I thought they were terrific today. St Kilda and did the job in those first 3 quarters, and then it was almost just running through the paces in that last quarter.
Yeah, no one got out of second or third gear, I don't think, in that last quarter, did they? It was very open, free-flowing footy, which probably boosts the numbers a little bit for not just players, but overall the stats. But it was how the game was played, essentially. Oh, just saw the cameraman get absolutely smoked by it.
Turn the sprinklers on. Oh, that's not what you want.
Right in the face. I've seen great things here today. Sparrow on the microphone, and
yes,
then
a chant from Lids.
Yeah,
didn't follow through, which was disappointing. But
they're probably 1, 2, 3. I think today the different stuff that we've witnessed. Interestingly, when St Kilda are allowed to take 109 marks or more, they're 7-0. So to support what you're saying, Lids, that's not the way to beat them. To allow them to have 128.
Control the footy and control the game
that they had today. Can they beat Geelong next week?
I think they can, absolutely. Yeah, the Cats are. There's still a lot, as you said, Clinchy, a lot to go right, but it's. I think the way they played today here, the Saints, and if they all chip in together, I think they're a real show. But if they come here and just expect that it's going to get done and whatever else, you'll get the result that you probably deserve.
Yeah, they were terrific around the contest. They pressured really well, tackled, they hunted the football, and then I thought their work rate from stoppage was far superior than what Richmond were today. So they need to bring that exact game plan against the Cats next week, and I think that'll hold them in good stead to get the job done.
Do the Cats get anyone back next week? Blitzarves are still a fair bit away. I reckon Hawkins.
They're all like short-term or medium-term or long-term injuries.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
No numbers to it. Yeah, I just don't think the Cats have got the cattle, to be honest. I think they're missing too many good players.
Mitch Cleary was saying today with us, Murph, that they got real problems in their ruck stock. So not guys like Toby Conway that are in the twos.
Segler,
even they're all injured. Segler and Stanley got hurt the other night. So Shannon Neal basically had the ruck 80% of the last quarter, with Stanley spending a lot of time on the bench. Blitzarv's still out.
Yep.
So there's a lot of problems height-wise now for Geelong as well to try and fill that position. And they'll be coming up against our All-Australian ruckman, Rowan Marshall, next week.
Yep.
The votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Yep,
Who's got the honour today?
I've got the honour today. I just went out on a limb and did it just after.
That's what I like.
No, I'm just saying, went out on a limb and did it 5 minutes into the last quarter when the game was done.
Enough.
So I did the votes very early on in that last quarter. So Jack St Clair gets my one vote today.
33.
Yeah, had 33, and just he started a lot of chains.
He was able to do whatever he wanted.
Chains.
Really.
Yeah, he ran around not by himself. He was obviously trying to play on a man. But he just starts a lot of their offensive up off that half-back flank, and I thought he was terrific today. Rowan Marshall gets my 2 votes. Thought he competed really hard in the ruck
25
all day.
Had
the 25 touches and kicked the 1 goal and really set up the game for St Kilda. And then I thought the best man on the ground kicked 2 and 2 in the first 3 quarters. Big Maxi King kicking 6, and I think he had enough to in the last quarter and rested up the body in that last quarter. But I thought he was terrific in his ability just to work really hard up and down the ground. He got a lot out the back, but that was due to his work rate and his smarts, and played Noah Bolter really well, and thought he was terrific today, kicking 6.
3 to King, 2 to Marshall, and 1 to Sinclair from Mark Murphy in the ABC Footballer of the Year. I mean, it's everything Saints fans hope Max King might become. 6 goals this afternoon. Ross Lyon's not a franchise man, but when he plays like that, it looks like he's the key to the future.
I couldn't agree more. I think, that's what you're hoping for with your big guys, 202 or whatever he is. He can jump and put his arms out, goes to about 6 metres long.
Well, Max King at his best, there's not too many that would be able to stop him. I've seen on numerous times him give Jacob Wiedering, who I think's probably the premier defender in the Commonwealth, with probably Darcy Moore, and he's given him a bath a couple of occasions just by the sheer fact he's just so tall and he's got long arms, and that if the ball's able to come in the way in which it came in today, he's so hard to stop.
Round 23 gets underway from Docklands on Friday night as Collingwood take on Brisbane. All of a sudden a big game for the Lions. We're together next Sunday for Melbourne and Hawthorn. So looking forward to your company there from the MCG. Thanks, Murph. Thanks, Lids.
Pleasure.
We'll get Jess Webster to bring you an interview. Thanks to Jules and to Ben Cameron back in the studio. Thanks to Corby as we take you to the Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide leading by 41 points at halftime to join Aaron Bryant's Neil Cross, Josh Franco and Nathan Burke. The Saints winners by 36 points here at Docklands. 14-9-93 to the Tigers 8-9-57 in front of 31,119 fans. Enjoy the rest of your night on ABC Sport.